For centuries, mankind has unearthed relics from the distant past, enigmatic monuments, strange artifacts, and structures that defy explanation. Each discovery raises more questions than answers, suggesting that our understanding of ancient history is only a fraction of the whole truth. What if there are secrets buried so deep in time that they may never fully surface? In the next 3 hours, we will plunge into the most bizarre and unexplainable archaeological mysteries, real stories of lost civilizations, inexplicable objects, and wonders that continue to baffle the greatest minds. Join us as we explore the unknown and attempt to unlock the mysteries that have evaded us for millennia. In the heart of the Nubian desert, nestled near the banks of the Nile River, lies a forgotten wonder, a towering structure that once dominated the landscape. The Kerma Deffufa, a massive mud-brick temple complex, stands as a silent testament to the ancient kingdom of Kerma. Its colossal walls, now weathered by millennia of time and desert winds, hint at a civilization whose power and influence reached far beyond what history often acknowledges. But despite its imposing presence, the Deffufa remains an enigma, a relic of an age long past, shrouded in mystery and barely touched by modern understanding. The Deffufa is a striking structure, a pyramid-shaped temple, its sides sloping sharply toward the sky. At nearly 20 meters tall, it was once one of the most awe-inspiring edifices in all of Nubia. Built around 1700 BC, the Deffufa was not merely a place of worship, but also a symbol of power and authority for the kingdom of Kerma, one of Africa's most influential and prosperous civilizations during its peak. Its location, strategically positioned in the Nubian heartland, suggests a deliberate choice, perhaps to assert dominance over the surrounding desert and the fertile Nile Valley. What makes the Kerma Deffufa so compelling is not just its size or its historical importance, but the questions it raises. How was such a vast structure constructed using only mud bricks? And why was it abandoned, seemingly without cause, around the 1500 BC? Though many have speculated, no definitive explanation has emerged. The kingdom of Kerma itself was a powerful and enigmatic state, a civilization that controlled vast stretches of land along the Nile, with strong trade connections and a rich cultural heritage. Yet, much of its history remains a mystery, lost beneath the sands of time. The Deffufa, while a key architectural feature, offers only fragmentary clues to this civilization's story. Archaeologists have unearthed remains of a vast cemetery surrounding the site, filled with impressive tombs and offerings, suggesting that the Deffufa was both a religious and a royal center. Yet, despite these discoveries, there is little evidence to explain why such an advanced civilization disappeared so suddenly, its power and influence dwindling to almost nothing by the time the Egyptian Empire rose to dominance in the region. Some scholars point to the kingdom of Kerma's eventual conquest by the Egyptians as the likely cause of its fall. The Egyptian pharaohs, expanding their control over Nubia, might have overwhelmed Kerma's defenses and absorbed its territories. But others argue that the answer might lie elsewhere. Perhaps the Kerma Deffufa holds a deeper secret, a clue to a more complex history than we've been led to believe. Could there have been internal strife, a collapse of resources, or even a natural disaster that led to the kingdom's downfall? Or might there be a connection between the Deffufa's sudden abandonment and the mysterious disappearance of the kingdom itself? As intriguing as these theories are, they only scratch the surface of the mystery surrounding the Kerma Deffufa. Even more perplexing are the elements that suggest the Deffufa may have served a purpose far beyond what is immediately obvious. Its towering walls, constructed with enormous precision, align with certain celestial bodies and seasonal patterns, hinting at a knowledge of astronomy or advanced engineering not often attributed to this ancient culture. Could the Deffufa have been a site of ritual significance, aligning with the stars to guide the people of Kerma in their agricultural cycles or their spiritual practices? There are those who have proposed more speculative theories, suggesting that the Deffufa might have been a kind of ancient power station, channeling some form of energy. Others have linked it to the mysterious and often elusive concept of ancient advanced civilizations, perhaps even one that predates both Egypt and Kerma. While these ideas remain on the fringe of mainstream archaeology, they underscore the lingering sense that something profound is still hidden within the sands of this forgotten site. The more we uncover about the kingdom of Kerma and the Deffufa, the more questions arise. What exactly happened to the people who once inhabited this powerful kingdom? Why did they build such an extraordinary structure only to abandon it? And what, if anything, does the Deffufa still have to tell us about the ancient world and its lost knowledge? For now, the Kerma Deffufa stands as a quiet monument to a past that refuses to be fully understood, an invitation to all who seek to unravel the mysteries of an ancient civilization that once held sway over the banks of the Nile. What secrets, we may wonder, still remain buried beneath the shifting sands of Nubia? As we shift our focus from the towering Deffufa of Nubia to another ancient wonder, we find ourselves transported to the heart of the Iranian plateau, where the earth, rich with history, has concealed another enigma for millennia. Here, in the fertile expanse of the modern-day Iranian city of Kashan, lie the remains of Tepe Sialk, a site that holds the mystery of an ancient ziggurat, whose purpose and builders remain an unresolved riddle. Like a forgotten sentinel watching over the surrounding desert, the Tepe Sialk ziggurat rises from the landscape, its partially excavated ruins offering just a glimpse into the past. The structure, thought to have been built around 3000 BC, is one of the oldest and most significant examples of early monumental architecture in the ancient Near East. Yet, despite its age and importance, much about it remains veiled in uncertainty. Who constructed this grand ziggurat, and why? What knowledge did the people who built it possess, and how did they shape the future of human civilization? The ziggurat at Tepe Sialk is an imposing structure, an architectural feat made of mud brick, its stepped layers ascending into the sky. At its core, it reflects the distinctive design principles of the early Sumerians and their successors in Mesopotamia. The ziggurat was not just a religious monument, but a powerful symbol of a society's technological and spiritual achievements. Yet, what is striking about Tepe Sialk is that it predates the Sumerian civilization, leaving archaeologists to question whether it was influenced by Sumerian ideas or if it represents an earlier, perhaps even independent, cultural tradition. Tepe Sialk was first excavated in the early 20th century, and while the site has yielded a wealth of artifacts, pottery, tools, and figurines, there are still many unanswered questions surrounding its origins. One of the most compelling aspects of the site is its apparent lack of direct connection to known historical civilizations. No inscriptions have been found to clearly identify the builders of Tepe Sialk, and its remains do not seem to correspond directly with any of the ancient cultures that once flourished in the region. The absence of a clear cultural context has led to speculation and theories about its purpose and significance. The most widely accepted theory is that Tepe Sialk was a religious site, perhaps an early center for rituals and offerings to the gods, in line with other ziggurats from the region. But what sets it apart from other ancient temples and religious sites is the sheer scale of its construction. The ziggurat is thought to have been part of a much larger urban complex, possibly serving as the focal point for a thriving settlement that might have been one of the precursors to later civilizations in the region. However, much of this remains speculative, as much of the surrounding city has yet to be uncovered. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the ziggurat appears to have undergone multiple phases of construction, with later layers covering earlier ones. This suggests that the site may have been continuously used and expanded over centuries, perhaps adapting to the changing needs of its society. But why did such a remarkable structure fade from history, abandoned and largely forgotten long before the rise of the great Persian Empire? One of the most puzzling features of the site is the presence of large-scale clay figurines and ritualistic artifacts, many of which seem to suggest a complex and highly developed religious system. These figurines, some of which represent deities or supernatural beings, point to a belief system that is difficult to fully understand with the limited evidence available. Were these objects part of regular ceremonies? Did they represent an early form of religious hierarchy or divine kingship? Or were they simply artistic expressions of a culture that had a deep connection to the forces of nature and the cosmos? Interestingly, some of the pottery found at Tepe Sialk displays intricate designs and symbols that appear to bear resemblance to motifs found in other ancient cultures, such as those of the Indus Valley to the east. Could this indicate cultural exchange across vast distances? Or is it possible that these designs were the result of a shared, lost heritage, an early example of a pan-regional culture that transcended individual civilizations? The fact that Tepe Sialk predates most of the known cultures in the region leaves room for such tantalizing possibilities. But perhaps the most perplexing mystery surrounding Tepe Sialk is the site's abrupt disappearance from the historical record. After its final phase of construction, the Ziggurat and the surrounding settlement appear to have been abandoned for reasons that are not entirely clear. Was it the result of environmental factors, droughts, earthquakes, or perhaps the shift in river systems that led to its decline? Or did the abandonment mark the end of an era as new powers arose and overshadowed this ancient site? Even more speculative theories have emerged in the search for answers. Some suggest that the people of Tepe Sialk may have had access to advanced knowledge, perhaps even astronomical insights, long before it became common in other parts of the ancient world. Were they, too, watching the stars and recording celestial events in ways that would later influence the rise of other civilizations? The alignment of some structures at Tepe Sialk with specific celestial bodies has led to speculation that the site may have had an astronomical purpose, perhaps even an early observatory. But without clearer evidence, this theory remains on the fringe. As the dust of time settles over the ruins of Tepe Sialk, we are left with more questions than answers. The purpose of the Ziggurat, the identity of its builders, and the reasons for its abandonment remain shrouded in mystery. Did the people of Tepe Sialk possess knowledge and insight that we have yet to fully comprehend? Or were they simply another ancient civilization, their rise and fall just a part of the eternal ebb and flow of history? The answers, it seems, lie beneath the surface of this ancient site, buried in the shifting sands of time. And so, as we continue our journey through the world's most perplexing archaeological mysteries, we are reminded once again that the past is never as clear as we would like it to be, and that some mysteries may remain unsolved, hidden from our understanding forever. As we continue our exploration of ancient mysteries that still evade our understanding, we find ourselves on the sun-drenched island of Sardinia, off the coast of Italy. Here, among the rolling hills and rugged terrain, stands a remarkable structure that has confounded archaeologists and historians for centuries. The Nuraghe Losa, one of the most well-preserved of Sardinia's enigmatic nuraghes, is a testament to the island's mysterious past, a past whose origins remain largely hidden from the modern world. The Nuraghe Losa is a towering circular stone tower, rising from the earth like an ancient sentinel, standing as a mute witness to a civilization that has long since faded into history. Built around 1500 BC, it is part of a larger complex of nurries, ancient megalithic structures that dot the Sardinian landscape. These stone towers, with their characteristic conical shape, were constructed without mortar, using only massive blocks of stone carefully fitted together to form a structure that has withstood millennia of natural elements. But what was their purpose? And who were the people who built them? While many nurags were used as forts or dwellings, the specific function of the Nuraghe Losa remains elusive. Its layout suggests it may have had both residential and ceremonial roles, with its labyrinthine interior and multiple chambers creating a sense of complexity and intentional design. The structure is centered around a large central hall, with smaller rooms and passages radiating out from it, forming an intricate network of spaces. Some believe that the tower may have been used for religious or ritual purposes, perhaps a place where the ancient Sardinians gathered for ceremonies that linked them to their gods, the land, and the cosmos. What makes the Nuraghe Losa particularly intriguing, however, is its size and the sheer effort it must have taken to construct. Its walls, thick and sturdy, still stand over 15 meters tall, a striking feat of engineering for a civilization that had no written language and limited technological resources. How were these massive stones moved and placed with such precision, especially considering that no modern tools or machinery were available at the time? Could there have been a lost knowledge or technique that has since vanished, or perhaps a hidden connection to other ancient cultures that were masters of stone construction? The answer to these questions is frustratingly elusive. For years, scholars have speculated about the builders of the Nuraghs. Some suggest that the island's original inhabitants, a group of people known as the Nuragic civilization, were responsible for these remarkable structures. Little is known about the Nuragic people, though they seem to have flourished in Sardinia from the Bronze Age, around 1800 BC, until the early Iron Age, around 500 BC. What we do know is that the Nuragic people left behind a wealth of archaeological remains, towers, temples, and statues that offer a glimpse into their way of life, their culture, and their beliefs. But despite the advances of modern archaeology, much about the Nuragic civilization remains shrouded in mystery. The absence of written records leaves us with only physical evidence, and that evidence raises more questions than it answers. Why did the Nuragic people construct these massive stone structures? Were they simply defensive fortifications, built to protect their people from invaders, or did they serve a more profound and ceremonial role, as some theorists suggest? And why did the Nuragic civilization disappear so abruptly? By the end of the first millennium BC, the Nuraghes were abandoned, and the people who built them seemingly vanished from history. Some researchers point to external factors, such as invasions, environmental changes, or economic collapse, as possible explanations for the fall of the Nuragic civilization. However, no definitive evidence supports any single theory. What's particularly puzzling is the fact that the Nuragic people, despite their advanced skills in construction and stoneworking, left behind no written records of their own. Was their knowledge passed down orally, or was it lost to time, swallowed by the very stones they left behind? Some have even suggested that the abandonment of these remarkable structures could point to a sudden collapse of societal structure, possibly even the result of an unforeseen catastrophe. In addition to the mysteries of the Nuragic people's sudden disappearance, the purpose of the Nuraghe Losa itself remains a subject of intrigue. Some scholars have argued that the structure may have had a specific astronomical function, serving as a kind of observatory, with its walls possibly aligned to certain celestial events. Could it have been used as a tool to track the stars, predict the seasons, or align with the cycles of the moon? This theory is based on the idea that many ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Mesopotamians, used monumental architecture to chart the heavens, and it's not unthinkable that the people of Sardinia might have shared this understanding of the cosmos. However, this is speculative at best, and as with many theories about ancient structures, it is difficult to confirm without direct evidence. Even more mysterious are the strange carvings and symbols found near the Nuraghes, some of which have been linked to possible astronomical or religious significance. Some believe that these markings could represent early forms of writing, while others suggest they might have been used in ritualistic or ceremonial contexts. Are these carvings simply decorative, or do they hold clues to the deeper beliefs and practices of the Nuragic people? Could they be symbolic representations of the stars, gods, or elements of nature, offering us a glimpse into the spiritual world of a lost civilization? As the stone walls of the Nuraghe Losa stand quietly against the windswept landscape, the questions they raise remain unanswered. Who were the builders of this ancient tower? What did they know, and why did they construct such an awe-inspiring monument? Was the Nuraghe Losa a beacon to the heavens, a symbol of power and ritual, or simply a practical structure built to withstand the harsh realities of life on the island? The mystery of the Nuraghe Losa endures, a tantalizing enigma that invites us to imagine what might still be hidden beneath the layers of earth and time. What secrets, once known only to the ancient builders of Sardinia, still lie buried within these ancient stones? And what might we yet uncover if we can only look deeper into the past and uncover the forgotten truths of the Nuragic civilization? As we move further into the depths of unexplained ancient mysteries, we find ourselves in the dense jungles of Cambodia, where the remnants of an ancient city lie almost forgotten. The Sambor Prei temples, an astonishing complex of brick structures, rise from the ground like ancient sentinels, standing in quiet defiance of time. These temples, located near the Tonle Sap Lake, are the remnants of the ancient city of Isanapura, which flourished between the 6th and 9th centuries A.D. They offer a fascinating glimpse into the early civilization that predated the mighty Khmer Empire. Yet, like so many lost cities, their full history remains shrouded in mystery. The Sambor Prei complex consists of over 100 temples, many of which are constructed from bricks, a building material that would later become a hallmark of the Khmer Empire's grandest temples, such as Angkor Wat. But what makes Sambor Prei so intriguing is not just its architecture, but its purpose and the identity of the people who built it. The city was once a thriving center of power, yet little is known about the civilization that created these intricate brick temples. Even the name Isanapura is largely forgotten to history, as the site was abandoned long before the rise of Angkor and its well-documented rulers. The temples at Sambor Prei stand as some of the earliest examples of Khmer-style architecture, but they differ in many ways from what would later come to define the Khmer Empire. The complex is made up of 3 main clusters of temples, each dedicated to different gods, and each showing different stages of construction. The temples vary in size and shape, but many share a common feature. They are made from baked brick, a material that would be used extensively in later Khmer temple construction. However, these temples also exhibit unique qualities that set them apart from their more famous successors, raising questions about the origins of the Khmer architectural tradition and the people who developed it. The central temple, Prasat Sambor, is particularly striking. Rising over 30 feet into the air, it is the largest and most complex of the structures at the site. Its steep, pyramid-like shape, combined with its intricate carvings and delicate brickwork, hints at a civilization with advanced construction techniques and a deep understanding of both religion and astronomy. The temple's layout and alignment suggest a purposeful design, possibly with celestial significance. Yet, there are no inscriptions, no definitive written records to explain the meaning behind these temples. Who were the rulers of Isanapura, and why did they choose to build such a vast complex of temples in a remote jungle? What was their connection to the gods, and how did their beliefs shape the physical world they created? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Sambor Prei construction precedes the grandiose rise of Angkor and its kings, and yet the style of the temples suggests a direct link between the two. Some archaeologists argue that the city of Isanapura may have been a precursor to Angkor itself, a Proto-Khmer capital that laid the groundwork for the later Khmer Empire's monumental architecture. If this is the case, then what happened to the people who built it? Why did they abandon the city, leaving behind this extraordinary site that remained largely forgotten until the modern era? The reasons for the abandonment of Sambor Prei are not entirely clear. Some scholars suggest that the city may have fallen into decline due to external pressures, perhaps invasions, or the shifting political and economic balance of the region. Others speculate that environmental factors, such as changing river patterns or prolonged droughts, could have contributed to the collapse. Yet, there are no definitive answers, and the city's sudden disappearance from history remains an open question. But perhaps the most tantalizing aspect of Sambor Prei is the question of its connections to the wider region and beyond. The temples are adorned with intricate carvings and reliefs, many of which depict divine figures and mythological scenes. Some of these figures have been identified as early representations of Hindu gods, such as Shiva and Vishnu, indicating a strong influence from Indian religious practices. However, there are also elements that do not easily fit into the Indian religious tradition, such as unique iconography and symbols that appear to be purely local in origin. This blend of influences has led some researchers to propose that Sambor Prei may have been a site of syncretism, a place where multiple religious traditions and beliefs intersected. Could the temples have been a focal point for religious exchange between India, Southeast Asia, and other regions of the ancient world? If so, what ideas, beliefs, or knowledge might have flowed through this place, leaving behind only faint traces for modern explorers to uncover? As with many ancient sites, the lack of written records leaves us to speculate. Could Sambor Prei have been a place of significant spiritual and intellectual activity, a melting pot of religious ideas and cultural exchange? Or were these temples simply part of a long-forgotten local kingdom whose influence never reached beyond the dense forests of Cambodia? Some fringe theories even suggest that the site could have been built by a culture with advanced astronomical or engineering knowledge, possibly even influenced by outside civilizations we have yet to discover. While there is no evidence to support these claims, they underscore the persistent sense that Sambor Prei holds secrets waiting to be revealed. The carvings and inscriptions that have been discovered at Sambor Prei, though minimal, are another source of mystery. While the site is devoid of large, extensive inscriptions like those found in Angkor, the few remaining reliefs and carvings depict scenes of divine rituals and cosmic symbols. Could these symbols represent a sophisticated understanding of the universe, perhaps relating to the cycles of the moon, the stars, or the movements of planets? Some researchers have even suggested that the design of the temples themselves could have been influenced by an understanding of celestial alignments, hinting at a lost knowledge of astronomy that was central to the ancient civilization that built them. Was this ancient people more attuned to the heavens than we have been led to believe? The Sambor Prei temples stand as quiet sentinels, remnants of a civilization whose true story is still largely hidden from us. The purpose of these structures, the identities of those who built them, and the reasons behind their abandonment remain unsolved. But as we continue to dig deeper into the past, we are reminded that some mysteries may never fully reveal themselves. What secrets are still buried beneath the dense jungle, waiting to be uncovered? And what truths about the ancient world might be lost forever, waiting for the right question to be asked? As our journey through the world's most perplexing archaeological mysteries continues, we find ourselves in the rugged hills of Algeria, where a structure stands frozen in time, its purpose and meaning as elusive as the wind that sweeps through the desolate landscape. This is the site of Medracen, an ancient burial complex that, though relatively well preserved, holds more questions than answers. Medracen, a colossal mausoleum, rises from the barren earth like an ancient sentinel, its towering stone walls silently defying centuries of time. Located near the town of Timgad, in the Oris Mountains of northeastern Algeria, Medracen is one of the most imposing and enigmatic structures from the ancient world. Constructed around the 3rd century BC, this large burial monument is a testament to the wealth and power of the ancient Numidian kingdom, a civilization that once flourished in North Africa, straddling the borderlands between Carthage and Rome. The tomb of Medracen is remarkable not only for its size but also for its design. Shaped like a stepped pyramid, It is constructed of massive stones that have withstood the test of time, despite centuries of weathering and erosion. Standing roughly 20 meters tall, the structure is topped by a domed roof and features a series of tiers or levels, each adorned with intricate carvings that seem to echo a lost language of symbolism. At first glance, the tomb appears to be a monument of monumental proportions, a royal tomb, perhaps, for an ancient king or a powerful leader. But who exactly was buried here, and what significance did Medracen hold for the people of the ancient Numidian kingdom? While scholars have long debated the identity of the person entombed in Medracen, many believe that it was the final resting place of a Numidian king, possibly King Massinissa, who ruled the kingdom from 202 BC to 148 BC. Massinissa is known for his role in the Second Punic War, where he aligned himself with Rome and played a key role in defeating Carthage. If this is true, Medracen would have served as a monument to his power and legacy. But the questions surrounding the tomb remain far from resolved. Despite the grandeur of the structure, there is no definitive inscription or clear evidence within the tomb itself to confirm the identity of its occupant. No name, no royal insignia, no detailed record of the individual buried here, just silence. Even more perplexing is the layout of the tomb. The entire structure is built in an odd fashion, with the lower levels consisting of a series of chambers arranged in a circular pattern. The uppermost part, the pyramid-like summit, is said to have once been a conical dome that has since collapsed, leaving behind only the lower tiers. Some archaeologists argue that this design mirrors the burial practices of other ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians, who built large pyramid-like tombs for their pharaohs. But while the architectural style of Medracen shares some similarities with Egyptian pyramids, it is fundamentally different in many respects. There are no massive inner chambers, no grand corridors filled with treasure or offerings. The tomb appears to be a simple, yet imposing structure, its true purpose still unclear. What then was Medracen meant to represent? Was it solely a royal tomb, or did it serve some greater symbolic or ceremonial role? Some researchers have suggested that it may have been a place of worship or a symbol of the king's connection to the gods, a kind of earthly reflection of divine power. Could the tomb's strange, stepped design have had a cosmic significance, perhaps aligning with certain stars or celestial events, as many ancient cultures believed their monuments should? Others speculate that Medracen was not just a tomb, but a symbol of the unity and power of the Numidian kingdom itself, a place to assert authority and project power to both the Carthaginians and the Romans, who were vying for control of the region. Despite its striking appearance, Medracen is not an isolated monument. There are other similar burial structures scattered throughout the Aurus Mountains, suggesting that this was not a singular event, but part of a broader cultural practice. Yet, the absence of written records from the Numidians themselves leaves us to piece together these fragments of history without a clear map. We must rely on archaeological evidence and the accounts of later civilizations, such as the Romans, who often wrote about their interactions with the Numidians. But even these external sources provide only glimpses, and the true story of the Numidian people, their customs, beliefs, and identity, remains largely untold. The lack of inscriptions is a particularly frustrating aspect of Medracen's mystery. In a region so rich in history, it is unusual for such a significant structure to be left without any direct textual evidence. While other tombs and monuments from the ancient world often come with inscriptions that tell us who built them, when, and why, Medracen seems to exist in a space of silence. This absence of written words has led to a range of speculative theories, some of which suggest that Medracen may have been intentionally left devoid of inscriptions to guard its secrets, perhaps to protect the identity of the ruler buried there, or to imbue the tomb with a sense of divine mystery. The carvings that do exist on the tomb's stone surface are highly stylized and abstract, rather than detailed representations of the person entombed inside. These enigmatic symbols, often depicting geometric patterns and mythical motifs, raise further questions about the tomb's purpose. Were these carvings part of a secret language, or did they represent divine symbols meant to protect the deceased in the afterlife? Some of these symbols closely resemble those found in other ancient cultures of the Mediterranean and North Africa, such as the Berber and Phoenician peoples, suggesting that Medracen may have been influenced by a broader cultural exchange. As we stand before Medracen, we are confronted with the same timeless question that has lingered for centuries. Who were the people who built this monument, and what did it truly represent? Was it a royal tomb, a place of power, or a sacred space designed to connect the living with the divine? We may never know for certain. The silence of Medracen, like so many other ancient structures, invites us to look deeper into the past, to search for answers that may never fully reveal themselves. And so, the mystery of Medracen remains, standing resolute in the landscape of Algeria, its secrets hidden beneath centuries of dust. What might still lie buried within its walls? What knowledge, beliefs, or rituals might we still be missing? As we continue to search for answers, we are reminded that some of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world may be destined to remain unsolved, leaving us to wonder what truths are still waiting to be uncovered in the shadow of this ancient monument. As we venture deeper into the labyrinth of ancient mysteries that remain unsolved, we arrive on the island of Sardinia, where the silence of the past whispers through the rocks and hills. Here, hidden among the rolling countryside and olive groves, lies a collection of tombs that have baffled archaeologists for centuries. These are the Domus de Janas, or Houses of the Fairies, a network of ancient rock-cut burial sites that stretch across Sardinia, their purpose and origins a subject of ongoing intrigue. The Domus de Janas are not just simple tombs. They are elaborate, intricate creations carved directly into the stone of the island's rugged hillsides. These tombs, dating back to the Neolithic period, around 3000 BC, consist of chambers and corridors, many of which are decorated with mysterious carvings and symbols. The name Domus de Janas comes from Sardinian folklore, where the tombs were believed to be the homes of fairies, ethereal beings who lived beneath the earth. But while this tale reflects the tomb's enigmatic appearance, it also underscores the otherworldly aura that surrounds them. These places, although simple in their construction, seem to carry the weight of a much deeper, more complex story, one that we have only begun to piece together. Scattered across Sardinia, there are over 700 of these tombs, though the exact number remains unclear, as many have yet to be fully uncovered or are slowly eroded by the ravages of time. Each tomb typically consists of a central chamber, often circular or oval in shape, with smaller rooms or niches branching off. The chambers are carved from limestone or sandstone, and they vary in size, some large enough to accommodate several bodies, while others are more modest. The entrances of these tombs are often marked by a small, narrow opening, sometimes shaped like a doorframe, leading into a dark, cool interior. What makes the Domus de Janas particularly striking is their design. These are not mere holes carved into the rock. They are highly structured spaces, with sophisticated layouts and an almost architectural precision. Some tombs even feature multiple rooms, which suggests that these sites were not only used for burial, but may have also served ceremonial or ritualistic purposes. But despite the clarity of their design, much of their purpose remains clouded in mystery. Who were the people that built these tombs? What were their religious or spiritual beliefs, and how did these beliefs shape the design of their burial sites? The mainstream explanation, as proposed by archaeologists, is that the Domus de Janas were the burial places of the ancient Sardinians, likely belonging to the Nuraghic civilization, a prehistoric culture that flourished on the island long before the Romans arrived. This theory is supported by the fact that many of these tombs seem to align with the broader burial practices of the Mediterranean Bronze Age. They are often found in clusters, and the graves themselves were sometimes reused, with bodies being added over generations. But why did the people of this ancient civilization choose to carve their tombs into the rock, rather than construct them above ground like other cultures of the time? One possibility is that these tombs were meant to emulate or honor the natural world. The idea of burying the dead in rock, essentially returning the body to the earth itself, suggests a deep reverence for nature and its cycles. The design of the tombs could reflect the belief in an afterlife or the need to create a spiritual connection between the deceased and the land they once inhabited. The rock, with its permanence and connection to the earth, may have been seen as an ideal material to house the departed, providing them with a stable and enduring resting place. But was this purely symbolic, or did it have a practical purpose as well? In some of the more elaborately decorated tombs, intricate carvings adorn the walls, abstract geometric patterns, spirals, and what appear to be representations of eyes or faces. These carvings are both beautiful and perplexing. Are they simply decorative, or do they hold deeper meaning? Some have speculated that these symbols were meant to ward off evil spirits, or to help guide the souls of the dead into the afterlife. Others suggest that these motifs could represent a form of proto-writing or a symbolic language, the meaning of which has been lost to time. The spiritual significance of the Domus de Janas is further emphasized by their placement within the landscape. Many of these tombs are found on hills or elevated areas, suggesting that they may have been chosen for their connection to the heavens or for their view of the surrounding land. Could these tombs have been aligned with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun or the phases of the moon? Were the ancient Sardinians using these tombs as a way to connect with the divine or the cosmic forces that governed their world? While there is no direct evidence to support this idea, the strategic locations of some tombs hint at a possible spiritual or astronomical function. In recent years, alternative theories have emerged, suggesting that the Domus de Janas might not have been built by the Nuraghic people at all. Some fringe researchers propose that these tombs could have been the work of an even earlier civilization, perhaps one with advanced knowledge of architecture, astronomy, or religious practices that has since been lost to history. This theory draws parallels between the Domus de Janas and other ancient structures across the Mediterranean, such as the hypogeum of Halsaflieni in Malta or the megalithic temples of Gozo, which also feature intricate carvings and alignments with celestial phenomena. Could the people of Sardinia have been influenced by an unknown, possibly even global culture that spanned across the Mediterranean? Or are these tombs merely a local expression of a broader tradition, one that grew out of the island's unique geography and its people's close relationship with the land? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the Domus de Janas were not used for burials exclusively. Some tombs show signs of reuse, with new bodies interred in old spaces, suggesting that these sites had lasting significance over many generations. Could they have served as communal sites, places where the living came to honor their ancestors and maintain a connection with their past? The evidence of repeated burials could indicate a belief in ancestral worship or a desire to keep the spirits of the dead close by. Yet, as with so many other aspects of ancient burial practices, the precise meaning of these rituals remains a mystery. Despite the wealth of tombs scattered across Sardinia, many of them remain largely unexplored, hidden beneath layers of earth and time. The question remains: how many more Domus de Janas are waiting to be uncovered, and what secrets might they still hold? Could the carvings and designs hidden within these tombs hold keys to an ancient, forgotten language, one that might reveal more about the people who built them? Or are these tombs simply silent witnesses to a way of life that has long since vanished? As we ponder these questions, the Domus de Janas stand as a haunting reminder of the many mysteries that lie hidden in the landscapes of the ancient world. These tombs, though centuries old, still speak to us across time, inviting us to uncover their secrets, even as they continue to guard their mysteries. What might still be hidden beneath the earth, waiting to tell us more about the ancient people who carved these remarkable sites into the rock? And what other truths, lost to history, might one day be revealed as we continue our exploration of the ancient past? The answers, it seems, lie buried within the stones themselves. As our journey through the forgotten corners of ancient history continues, we find ourselves in the mist-covered hills of northern Europe, where the land holds secrets that stretch back to a time long before written history. Hidden beneath the earth, far from the reach of modern eyes, lies a series of mysterious caverns, places so ancient, so steeped in ritual and mysticism, that their very existence seems to belong to a world of myth. These are the hidden caverns of the ancient Druids, sacred spaces that may still harbor secrets about one of the most enigmatic cultures of the ancient world. The Druids, an ancient order of priests, philosophers, and mystics, are most often associated with the Celts, the fierce and spiritual peoples of Europe who thrived in what is now Britain, Ireland, France, and the Iberian Peninsula during the Iron Age and early Roman periods. They were known for their deep connection to the natural world, their reverence for the forest, and their mystical rites performed in sacred groves. Yet, despite their prominence in ancient Europe, the Druids left little in the way of written records. Their teachings were passed down orally, and much of what we know about them comes from external sources, primarily Roman writers, who often had little understanding of the culture they were describing. It is within this gap of understanding that the hidden caverns of the Druids begin to take on an air of mystery. These subterranean chambers, many of which remain largely unexplored or hidden beneath the surface, are thought to have been used by the Druids for sacred rituals, initiations, and perhaps even as places for communing with the gods. Some of these caverns are located in remote areas of the British Isles, particularly in Wales, Cornwall, and Ireland, while others have been discovered in the depths of ancient forests throughout Europe. What lies within these hidden spaces, and what connection do they have to the ancient spiritual practices of the Druids? One of the most famous and widely studied of these caverns is found in the Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, a site known for its unique geological formations and its strong association with Druidic legends. The basalt columns of the causeway are often thought to have been the backdrop for Druidic ceremonies, their natural symmetry and grandeur making them an ideal setting for rituals honoring the earth, the sky, and the elemental forces. But the hidden caverns beneath these formations remain largely unexplored. What secrets do these dark, forgotten places hold? Are they the remnants of an ancient spiritual system that has been lost to time? Or were they merely utilitarian spaces for the Druids, places of shelter, gathering, and perhaps burial? In some areas, researchers have uncovered caverns that appear to have been carefully constructed, with smooth stone walls and meticulously carved symbols, images of animals, geometric patterns, and what appear to be astrological charts. Could these marks indicate a sophisticated knowledge of the natural world, one that extended to astronomy, medicine, and perhaps even alchemy? The Druids were known to have an intimate knowledge of the seasons, the stars, and the cycles of the earth, and some suggest that these caverns may have been used to track celestial events or serve as early observatories. In certain caves, large stone altars have been discovered, indicating that ritual sacrifice or offerings may have taken place in these remote sanctuaries. Was the act of entering these caverns seen as a form of communion with the gods, a ritual passage that connected the living to the realm of the divine? While much of this speculation is based on fragments of evidence and ancient writings, there are also numerous theories that suggest the Druids possessed knowledge far beyond what was typical for their time. Some believe that the hidden caverns may have been used for purposes that defy conventional understanding, places where advanced knowledge of energy, magnetism, or sound was studied and harnessed. Could the Druids have discovered methods of amplifying sound or tapping into the Earth's natural vibrations in ways that we are only beginning to understand today? These ideas, while intriguing, remain speculative and difficult to prove. Yet, the mystery of these caverns, along with the very nature of Druidic knowledge, raises more questions than answers. In addition to the physical evidence of these caves, there are also numerous stories and legends that have been passed down through the centuries, many of which speak of mystical encounters within these darkened halls. Some local folklore suggests that the caverns were not only places of ritual, but also portals to other realms, spaces where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds were thin. Was it within these sacred caves that the Druids communed with the spirits of the forest, called upon the gods, or perhaps sought knowledge from the other world? The belief in a hidden realm, an underworld of sorts, was central to Druidic thought, and the caverns may have represented a connection to this unseen world. As we move further into the speculation surrounding the hidden caverns of the Druids, there are whispers of more esoteric theories that connect the Druids to lost knowledge of ancient civilizations. Some have proposed that the Druids were influenced by far older cultures that possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and sacred architecture. Could the Druids have inherited knowledge from such civilizations, which they then integrated into their own belief systems and practices? Could the caverns, with their carefully arranged stone structures and seemingly deliberate designs, be evidence of this hidden knowledge, a kind of secret archive of ancient wisdom? Some even suggest that the Druids may have had access to knowledge lost in the aftermath of catastrophes, passed down through generations of priests and seers. Was their understanding of the natural world so profound that it bordered on the mystical, enabling them to manipulate forces we are only now beginning to grasp? Yet, despite these theories, one fact remains clear. The hidden caverns of the Druids continue to hold their secrets, and much of what we believe about the Druids is still shrouded in mystery. For all the archaeological work that has been done in search of evidence, we have yet to uncover the full extent of Druidic culture or their practices. While some of the caverns have been explored and documented, many still remain closed off to modern investigation, either because of their remote locations or the protective myths that continue to surround them. Could these spaces, hidden beneath the earth, waiting for discovery, still hold untold truths? What might be found deep within these caverns if we could penetrate their dark, sacred recesses? Perhaps the answers to some of our most profound questions about ancient spirituality, energy, and knowledge lie within these very walls. And so, the hidden caverns of the Druids continue to be a subject of fascination, speculation, and mystery. Whether they were truly places of profound ritual or merely functional spaces for an ancient people, their existence raises as many questions as it answers. What else, we wonder, might still lie beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered, to tell its story, and to reveal the long-forgotten secrets of one of history's most enigmatic cultures? The mystery endures, beckoning us ever deeper into the shadows of the past. Our journey now takes us to a stunning and otherworldly landscape in the heart of the Caucasus, where the natural rock formations have been transformed into something far beyond the ordinary. Uplistsikhe, a vast rock-cut city perched on a rugged cliffside, offers a glimpse into a civilization that thrived thousands of years ago. It is a place that, even today, seems almost suspended in time. A city carved from stone, built by an unknown culture whose full history and purpose remain cloaked in mystery. Uplistsikhe is located in modern-day Georgia, in the foothills of the Caucasus Mountains, overlooking the Metkvari River. The city is an awe-inspiring feat of engineering, stretching over several acres of steep, jagged hills, where the natural rock has been meticulously shaped into a labyrinth of chambers, passageways, and plazas. The name Uplistsikhe itself translates to Lord's Fortress, a fitting moniker for a site that once served as a key hub for trade, culture, and possibly religious practices. The city is believed to have been established as early as the 6th century BC, making it one of the oldest urban centers in the region. As you approach the site, the first thing you notice is the sheer scale of it. Vast stone structures rise from the hillsides, some still standing strong, others partially eroded by centuries of wind and weather. The city's layout is an extraordinary blend of nature and human ingenuity. Expansive courtyards, rock-hewn houses, and even temples and cisterns, all carved directly into the rock itself. What stands before us is not just a city, but a vision of how a people might have adapted to and coexisted with their natural surroundings. But the true marvel of Uplistsikhe lies in its construction. The city is made up of thousands of individual rooms and corridors, all chiseled out of the soft volcanic rock that forms the basis of the landscape. It's as though the city was built in perfect harmony with the natural world, each structure carefully fitted to the contours of the land. Some of the rooms are surprisingly sophisticated, with intricate carvings and ornamentation that suggest an advanced understanding of architecture and design. Other areas, such as the Uplistsikhe temple, show signs of religious activity, with altars and niches that might have held sacred objects or idols. What is immediately striking about Uplistsikhe, however, is how much of it seems to defy easy explanation. The city's layout, for example, is both logical and bewildering at once. While there are clear signs of urban planning, roads that lead to specific quarters, areas designated for religious worship, and spaces for communal living, there are also elements that remain enigmatic. The complex network of tunnels and hidden passageways, some of which lead to dead ends, hints at a deeper purpose that may never be fully understood. Were these labyrinthine paths designed for defensive purposes, or did they have a more spiritual significance? Could they have served as places of ritual or initiation? And why do some of the corridors lead to seemingly insignificant rooms, while others open out into breathtaking views of the surrounding landscape? In addition to the unique layout, the presence of multiple layers of architectural styles within Uplistsikhe is another mystery. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of Greek, Persian, and Roman influences within the city, suggesting that it was once a key crossroads of ancient trade and culture. Yet, Uplistsikhe also possesses a distinctive character of its own. Its architecture does not fully align with any one civilization, but instead reflects a synthesis of different traditions, combined with an unmistakable local identity. What caused this blending of cultural influences? Was Uplistsikhe a melting pot of diverse peoples and ideas, or was it a place where different cultures coexisted in a more harmonious way, each contributing to the city's development in a shared vision? The temples within Uplistsikhe offer another layer of intrigue. One of the most notable is the rock-cut Christian church built into the city, a symbol of the Christianization of Georgia in the 4th century AD, which sits atop much older structures that are believed to have been used for pagan rituals. Here, again, we encounter a blending of belief systems, with the ancient and the new intertwined in ways that raise more questions than answers. Was the transition from paganism to Christianity as seamless as it seems here? Or did it represent a much more complex process of cultural and spiritual transformation? Did the Druids or other religious orders play a role in the practices at Uplistsikhe before Christianity took hold? One of the most perplexing elements of the city's history is its abandonment. At some point, likely sometime after the 13th century, Uplistsikhe seems to have fallen into decline. Historical records suggest that the city's strategic position and importance waned as new trade routes emerged and other cities rose to prominence. However, the reasons for its eventual desertion are unclear. Was it due to changing political or military circumstances, Or were there deeper social, environmental, or religious shifts that led to the city's abandonment? Some believe that it was the rise of external invaders, such as the Mongols, who ultimately brought an end to Uplistsikhe's importance. Others suggest that it may have been the changing course of the river, or even a slow decline in population that led to the city's fall. Despite its abandonment, Uplistsikhe continues to hold a certain kind of magic. Its atmosphere remains one of quiet mystery, as if it is waiting to reveal more of its secrets. Perhaps it is the cryptic symbols carved into the stone walls, or the long-forgotten altars that still stand, weathered but resolute, that give the site its air of mysticism. There are those who believe that Uplistsikhe was more than just a city. It was a spiritual center, a sacred site where important rituals were performed, where cosmic forces were called upon, and where the veil between the worlds was said to be thin. Could this ancient place have served as a ritualistic gateway, a portal to another world or plane of existence, as many ancient sites across the world are said to do? Archaeologists have been unable to fully answer these questions, and there are still many aspects of Uplistsikhe's past that remain obscured. The lack of written records from the time of the city's peak means that much of its history must be pieced together from scattered fragments of evidence, including inscriptions, artifacts, and the remains of buildings and structures. Some have even suggested that the city could have been an ancient sacred labyrinth, a kind of mystery school where initiates were tested or where esoteric knowledge was passed down. Others propose that the city was a center for astronomical studies, as its layout seems to align with celestial events, much like the ancient structures of Stonehenge or Teotihuacan. With so many unanswered questions, it is clear that Uplistsikhe rock-cut city still has much to reveal. As the site continues to be excavated and studied, it invites us to wonder, what other secrets lie buried beneath the stone? Were the people who once lived here part of a forgotten civilization, or were they a link in the chain of cultural exchange between ancient empires? And, perhaps most intriguingly, what role did Uplistsikhe play in the ancient world? Was it merely a city, or something more, a place of profound spiritual or cosmic significance? The mystery of Uplistsikhe is far from solved. The city, with its blend of natural rock formations and human craftsmanship, remains an enigma, a testament to a civilization that seems to have slipped through the cracks of history. And as we look toward the future, we can only ask, what other discoveries will be made in the hidden corners of this extraordinary site? What might still be waiting in the shadows just out of reach to shed light on the past? As our exploration of ancient mysteries continues, we move from the carved stone city of Uplistsikhe to a more subtle yet equally fascinating site, Jerf el-Ahmar. Hidden in the arid landscapes of Syria, just south of the modern-day border with Turkey, this ancient settlement offers a glimpse into a civilization that predates much of what we know about the development of the first cities. The structures uncovered at Jerf el-Ahmar are not the grand, imposing monuments of later civilizations, but rather a series of enigmatic communal buildings, each one shrouded in mystery and posing questions about the rise of human society itself. Jerf el-Ahmar, believed to have been occupied around 9600 BC, is an early Neolithic site that stands out for its unique architectural features. Unlike other known Neolithic settlements, which often consisted of small huts or simple structures, the buildings at Jerf el-Ahmar are larger, more complex, and, perhaps most intriguingly, shared. The site consists of a series of communal buildings constructed from a combination of local stone and mud brick. These buildings are unusual in their design, suggesting a high degree of organization and cooperation among the people who lived here. They seem to have been built with a shared purpose in mind, raising the question, what kind of community were the inhabitants of Jerf el-Ahmar trying to create? The most striking feature of the site is the central building, which stands out not only because of its size, but also due to its unusual construction. The building is not like typical Neolithic dwellings, which often had a simple rectangular layout. Instead, this structure has a circular design, with walls that curve inward toward a central space. Some researchers have suggested that this might have been a communal space, a place for gatherings, rituals, or decision-making. Its central location within the settlement indicates that it may have been the heart of the community, perhaps a symbolic or practical center for social life. Yet no clear evidence has been found to explain exactly what took place within these walls. Was it a meeting place, a communal kitchen, or perhaps something more ceremonial? Inside the structure, evidence of large storage pits has been discovered, which suggests that the people of Jerf el-Ahmar may have been involved in early forms of food production and storage. This would align with the transition from a nomadic lifestyle to a more settled, agrarian existence, a defining feature of the Neolithic Revolution. However, it's the absence of more personal or household items in these buildings that has raised some intriguing questions. Instead of typical domestic artifacts, tools, pottery, or personal ornaments, archaeologists have found objects that seem more communal or ritualistic in nature. Animal bones, some of which appear to have been carefully arranged, and stone tools that show signs of heavy use, hint at a life that involved collective labor, possibly in ways we still don't fully understand. The communal nature of these buildings, particularly the circular structure, has led some to speculate that Jerf el-Ahmar might have been a ritual center, a place where early humans gathered to perform ceremonies or rites of passage. The notion that this site could have been a hub of early religious activity is further supported by the discovery of statues and figurines, some of which represent human-like figures with exaggerated features, such as large, round eyes. These figures, made from limestone, bear a resemblance to other Neolithic artifacts that are often interpreted as goddesses or fertility symbols, suggesting that religion or spirituality may have played a central role in the lives of these people. Yet, the mystery deepens when we consider the unusual alignment of the communal buildings in relation to the surrounding landscape. The structures appear to be oriented toward certain astronomical events, possibly marking the rise or set of celestial bodies. This alignment, coupled with the presence of what might be ritual objects, hints at a sophisticated understanding of the sky, a knowledge that was integral to the lives of many ancient cultures. Did the inhabitants of Jerf el-Ahmar have a specific connection to the stars, or were they merely marking the passage of time through the movement of the sun and moon? And if they were studying the heavens, how did this influence their social and spiritual practices? Adding to the intrigue is the discovery of a massive stone structure in the vicinity, one that appears to be an early form of megalithic architecture. The stones used in its construction are far larger than those typically found in Neolithic settlements, suggesting that the people of Jerf el-Ahmar had a knowledge of engineering and construction techniques that were far ahead of their time. The precise purpose of this structure remains unclear, but its size and complexity suggest that it may have had a ceremonial or symbolic function. Was it a monument to the gods? Or was it a structure designed to commemorate a significant event or figure in the community's history? The lack of comparable examples from the period makes it difficult to draw any definitive conclusions, but the sheer scale of the structure invites further investigation. Despite the impressive nature of these findings, there are still many unanswered questions surrounding Jerf el-Ahmar. While the communal buildings and their organization suggest a well-developed society, the absence of typical Neolithic features, such as agricultural fields or large-scale permanent housing, leads some researchers to question whether Jerf el-Ahmar was a fully fledged village or simply a seasonal settlement. Was this an experimental community, a testing ground for new forms of social organization, or was it a fully established society? Could the people here have been on the cusp of creating something entirely new, a complex social system that would eventually evolve into the first true cities? The lack of a clear burial site has only added to the mystery. In many Neolithic sites, The dead were buried in specially designated areas, often near homes or communal spaces. But at Jerf el-Ahmar, no large burial grounds have been found. This raises the possibility that the people of this settlement had very different burial practices, or perhaps, like other early cultures, they practiced excarnation, a ritualistic process of exposing the dead to the elements, allowing nature to take its course before collecting the bones for secondary burial. The absence of burial sites also raises the question, was Jerf el-Ahmar abandoned before it could develop more fully? Did the inhabitants leave suddenly, or was the community gradually supplanted by other groups? In recent years, some have speculated that Jerf el-Ahmar could have played a significant role in the development of religion and social organization in the ancient Near East. The communal nature of the buildings, the focus on ritual and ceremony, and the presence of early megalithic architecture suggest that the site could have been an incubator for the kinds of religious practices and social structures that would later define civilizations such as Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Was Jerf el-Ahmar a precursor to the great cities of the ancient world, or was it a more isolated, experimental community that left behind a legacy too obscure to fully understand? Even as archaeologists continue to excavate the site, much about Jerf el-Ahmar remains beyond our reach. What knowledge did the people who lived here possess that we have yet to uncover? What stories could the walls of these communal buildings still tell us, if we could only decode their hidden messages? And why, after so many thousands of years, has this enigmatic site remained so quiet, its secrets only now coming to light? The mystery of Jerf el-Ahmar endures, an ancient riddle carved into the rock, waiting for someone to piece together the fragments of its forgotten story. What might we learn as we continue to explore the origins of one of the world's first known communities? And, perhaps most tantalizingly, what other lost civilizations might be waiting in the shadows, ready to reveal their hidden histories? As we leave behind the communal buildings of Jerf el-Ahmar, we venture into another enigmatic landscape, one where towering stones rise from the earth in silence, each with its own story, waiting to be uncovered. Nestled in the rolling hills of southern Ethiopia, the Tiya Megaliths present a strikingly different mystery, one that lies not in the labyrinths of ancient cities, but in the simplicity and grandeur of massive, weathered stones scattered across the landscape. Unlike the grandiose monuments of Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Tiya Megaliths seem more intimate, as though they were designed to mark something deeply personal, yet their meaning has long evaded our understanding. The Tiya site, believed to have been constructed around 1000 BC, consists of over 40 megalithic stones, some standing upright, others lying half-buried in the earth. The stones vary in size, but many of them tower over the surrounding landscape, their flat, rectangular surfaces often adorned with curious carvings, symbols, figures, and abstract designs whose meaning remains obscure. As we stand before these stones, it's difficult not to wonder, what were these symbols meant to represent? Were they a form of written language, an early attempt at recording history, or were they part of a ritualistic system that had significance only to the people who placed them there? The Tiya Megaliths are not just remarkable for their size or the mystery of their carvings, they are also notable for their location. The site is situated in a remote valley in the Baal Mountains, an area that is still relatively unexplored by modern archaeology. The very fact that such a complex site exists in such a secluded part of the world raises questions about the civilization that created it. Who were the people who built the Tiya Megaliths, and what role did these stones play in their society? Could they have been part of a forgotten kingdom, one whose name and history have been lost to the ravages of time? Or was Tiya a center of ritual, a sacred place that served as a crossroads between the living and the divine? One of the most striking features of the Tiya site is its alignment with the landscape. The stones are arranged in such a way that some appear to be oriented toward specific natural features: the rising or setting of the sun, the position of certain stars, or perhaps even the flow of water through the valley. This careful placement hints at an understanding of the natural world that transcends mere practicality. Was this site a cosmological observatory designed to track celestial events, or was it something more? Could the Tiya Megaliths have been part of a larger religious or ceremonial complex, a site where important rituals were performed to mark the changing of the seasons, the cycles of life, or even the passage of time itself? Some researchers have speculated that the carvings on the stones might represent the deities or spirits that were worshipped by the people of Tiya. The figures etched into the stones, many of them abstract and geometric, seem to convey a sense of both the divine and the human. There are representations of fertility, animals, and human forms, all of which suggest a deep connection between the people of Tiya and the natural world. These carvings may have been a means of invoking the powers of nature, calling upon the earth, the sky, and the animals to provide for the community. The very act of carving these symbols into the stones could have been seen as a form of offering, a way to establish a direct link between the human and the divine. Yet, despite these potential interpretations, the true purpose of the Tiya Megaliths remains elusive. The lack of written records from the people who created these stones only adds to the mystery. Unlike the Sumerians, Egyptians, or Indus Valley civilizations, the people of Tiya left no inscriptions or texts that might shed light on the meaning of these stones. Instead, all we have are the symbols themselves, cryptic, silent, and enigmatic. Interestingly, the site's connection to the Afar people, a pastoralist society that still inhabits the area today, offers a potential clue. Some scholars suggest that the Tiya Megaliths might have been part of an early religious tradition that was passed down through generations, adapted and modified as the Afar people evolved. Could these stones represent a link between the past and present, a continuity of belief systems and practices that have been handed down over millennia? Or is it possible that the meanings of these stones have been lost entirely, their significance buried beneath layers of time and culture? The shapes of the stones themselves further complicate our understanding. Some are smooth and simple, while others have been carefully carved into more intricate shapes, with rounded tops or sharp edges. One particularly striking feature of the site is the presence of male and female symbols, which seem to correspond with the fertility motifs found on the stones. This suggests that the site may have had some connection to ancestral worship or fertility rites, common themes in many ancient cultures. These themes are reflected in the alignment of the stones themselves, which may have been positioned to mark specific points in the solar or lunar cycles, indicating that the people of Tiya were keenly attuned to the rhythms of the natural world. But even these observations raise further questions. Was Tiya primarily a funerary site, as some have proposed, where the dead were honored through the erection of these monumental stones? Or was it a ritual center, where the living gathered to perform sacred rites for the gods or ancestors? And if it was a funerary site, why were the remains of the dead not found near the stones? While burial sites are common in megalithic cultures, there are no clear signs of burials at Tiya, adding to the sense that this site does not follow the conventions of other ancient megalithic cultures. The isolation of the site also adds to the intrigue. Why, in such a remote part of the world, would a culture decide to create such monumental structures? Was it an isolated group, disconnected from the larger world, or did they possess knowledge and cultural connections with other ancient societies, perhaps through trade or migration? The similarities between the Tiya Megaliths and other megalithic sites around the world, such as those found in Europe and the Near East, suggest that the builders of Tiya may have been part of a larger network of societies, each sharing a common interest in the celestial and spiritual realms. Was Tiya one of many such sites, or was it an outlier, a place of singular importance for reasons we have yet to understand. Despite the tantalizing clues, the Tiya Megaliths remain an unsolved mystery. The absence of written records, the lack of clear answers regarding the function of the site, and the silence of the stones themselves leave us with more questions than answers. Were they a ceremonial center, a funerary site, or something entirely different? Were they the product of a single, unified culture, or were they the work of a group that was connected to a larger, but still unknown civilization? The Tiya Megaliths continue to stand, weathered but resolute, in the vast Ethiopian landscape, their purpose still waiting to be discovered. Perhaps, as further research is conducted and more is uncovered about the site, we will begin to piece together the story of those who built these mysterious stones. Until then, we are left to wonder, what knowledge, lost to time, do these megaliths hold? What secrets do they still conceal beneath their weathered surfaces? As we leave the rugged megaliths of Tiya, we turn our attention to another ancient mystery, this time set in the windswept plains of Ireland, a site that has long captivated archaeologists and researchers. Knowth, part of the broader Bryn complex, which houses some of the most extraordinary burial mounds in the world. At first glance, Knowth may seem like a quiet and remote location, with its large, grass-covered mounds dotting the landscape. Yet beneath the calm exterior lies a world of deep enigma, where the earth has kept hidden passageways, sacred alignments, and carvings that suggest far more than what meets the eye. Knowth is home to two large passage tombs, with the main mound being one of the largest in the Bryn complex. The tombs themselves, built around 5,000 years ago, approximately 3000 BC, are part of a broader Neolithic burial tradition, one that spans several cultures and centuries. These mounds, constructed with stones and earth, are not just burial sites, but seem to have been meticulously crafted to align with the forces of nature itself. The layout of Knowth, its orientation, its stones, and the subtle carvings hidden in its passageways, suggests a much deeper purpose, one connected to celestial bodies, the passage of time, and perhaps even the rituals of life and death. Unlike many other passage tombs found across Europe, Knowth is distinctive for the number and complexity of its passageways. The central mound, which stands tall against the sky, is flanked by 17 smaller satellite mounds, each of them a monument in its own right. As you walk around the site, it becomes clear that the mounds are not just individual structures. They are part of an elaborate network, carefully planned and designed, stretching across a vast expanse of land. But why such a large number of mounds? Was Knowth the site of something far larger? Perhaps an ancient center of worship or a cosmic observatory? Or could these mounds have been constructed to mark important rituals or events that are now lost to time? The real intrigue of Knowth, however, lies within the passages themselves. Dark, narrow corridors that seem to lead to nowhere and everywhere at once. These passageways, some of which stretch for nearly 20 meters, are lined with stones that bear intricate carvings. Most notably, the carvings are abstract geometric shapes, spirals, triangles, and zigzags that seem to defy simple explanation. Their purpose has remained elusive, but their prevalence suggests they were of paramount importance to the people who constructed the tombs. Were these symbols related to cosmology, a way of recording the stars, the movements of the planets, or the cycles of the moon? Or were they representations of more esoteric beliefs, connected to the afterlife, fertility, or even the nature of time itself? The alignment of Knowth's passages also adds to the mystery. Some of the passages are oriented to the sun, specifically the equinoxes, when day and night are in perfect balance. The fact that such an ancient society possessed the knowledge to align their structures with such precision is a testament to their understanding of the natural world. These alignments suggest that Knowth, much like other megalithic sites such as Stonehenge in Britain, may have served as a kind of astronomical observatory, a place where ancient people observed and recorded the passage of the seasons, the lunar phases, and the cycles of the sun. Yet, there's a deeper, more troubling question that lingers. Why did they feel the need to embed these celestial markers into the very fabric of their tombs? Was this a purely functional tool, simply a way of tracking the heavens? Or was it a spiritual necessity? Could the builders of Knowth have believed that by aligning their tombs with the sun and the stars, they were not just measuring time but invoking some greater cosmic force that governed life, death, and rebirth? One theory that arises, though unproven, suggests that the people who built Knowth may have had knowledge of astrology, the belief that the positions of the stars and planets influenced human destiny. The sheer complexity of the carvings, along with the alignment of the passages to the heavens, hints that these ancient builders might have been trying to connect themselves to the celestial realm, understanding their place in the cosmos, and marking the passage of souls in accordance with the movements of the heavens. If this theory holds any merit, Knowth could have been much more than a tomb. It may have been a gateway, a means of ensuring the safe passage of souls to the afterlife, perhaps guided by the celestial bodies themselves. Adding to the complexity of Knowth's mystery are the carvings that adorn the stones within the passageways. Many of these carvings depict spirals and other repetitive motifs, which have been found in other Neolithic sites across Europe. Some scholars suggest that the spiral is a universal symbol of life's cyclical nature, birth, death, and rebirth. The spiral might also represent a path to another world, or a journey into the unknown, aligning with the idea of death as a passage. But why were these particular symbols chosen, and what did they represent to the people of Knowth? Were they simply decorative, or did they encode hidden knowledge, perhaps a religious or philosophical system that has since been lost to us? One particularly intriguing aspect of the carvings is their three-dimensional quality. Unlike other flat carvings found at similar sites, the stones at Knowth sometimes feature carvings that rise from the surface, as if to create a tactile, almost ritualistic interaction with the stone. The act of carving these symbols into the stone was not just about decoration. It may have been part of a broader spiritual or ritualistic practice, perhaps even a form of worship that involved the physical world interacting with the spiritual. The question remains, what exactly was the relationship between the physical world of Knowth and the metaphysical world the builders believed in? Despite the significant research that has been conducted on Knowth, much remains unknown. Archaeologists are still debating the true purpose of the site, with some suggesting that it served as a royal tomb, a center for ancestor worship, or even as a ritual center for the local community. Others believe it may have been used for a combination of purposes, where the people of the time could celebrate the cycles of the earth while also paying homage to their ancestors. And while much of the evidence points toward the significance of celestial alignments and ritual practices, the lack of direct written records leaves many of these theories in the realm of speculation. What is clear, however, is that the people who built Knowth possessed a deep understanding of the world around them, from the stars above to the earth beneath their feet. They were not simply constructing burial mounds. They were creating an intricate and meaningful connection between the heavens and the earth, life and death, human and divine. And in doing so, they left behind a legacy that continues to puzzle and fascinate us today. So, as we stand in front of Knowth's towering mounds and peer into its dark passages, we are left with a haunting question. What else, hidden deep within the earth or the cosmos, remains to be uncovered? What knowledge did the builders of Knowth possess that we have yet to discover? What secrets, whispered to the stars, are still waiting to be revealed? As we leave the celestial alignments of Knowth behind, we find ourselves journeying across the seas to another corner of the ancient world, where stone and earth hold the secrets of a long-forgotten past. Nestled on the island of Anglesey off the coast of Wales, Bryn, Celli, an ancient passage tomb, stands as a silent witness to a world that once looked to the heavens for meaning and guidance. This site, though smaller and less imposing than some of the megalithic wonders we've explored, holds its own unique set of mysteries, many of which remain unsolved even to this day. At first glance, Bryn Celli appears to be just another ancient burial mound, its dome-like structure rising from the lush green landscape of Anglesey. The name itself, which translates to mound in the dark grove, seems to echo the sense of mystery that surrounds the site. But this tomb, with its carefully constructed passage and intricate inner chambers, is far more than just a burial site. As we walk closer to the mound, its true significance begins to reveal itself, not through towering walls or grandiose architecture, but through the quiet precision of its design, the placement of its stones, and the alignment of its passageway. Bryn Celli was constructed around 3000 BC during the Neolithic period, a time when people across Britain and Ireland were transitioning from a nomadic lifestyle to settled farming communities. Unlike other, larger passage tombs such as Newgrange in Ireland, which are oriented to celestial events, Bryn Celli's purpose seems both more intimate and more elusive. The mound itself is relatively modest, measuring just over 10 meters in diameter and 3 meters in height, but what lies within this unassuming structure is what has fascinated archaeologists for centuries. The tomb consists of a narrow passage that leads to a central chamber, a small, dark space that was once the final resting place of the dead. As you crawl into the tomb's entrance, it's easy to imagine the experience of those who may have laid their ancestors to rest here, invoking solemn rituals in the dim light of the tomb's interior. Yet, the mystery of Bryn Celli lies not only in its function as a burial chamber, but in its precise alignment and the carvings found within. At the heart of this enigma is the tomb's passageway, which is carefully aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. Each year, on the morning of the solstice, the first rays of the sun illuminate the interior of the tomb, casting light down the passage and onto the central chamber. This alignment to the sun's position at a significant point in the solar calendar speaks to the people's understanding of time, the seasons, and their connection to the natural world. What could this alignment have meant to the people of Anglesey, living so many thousands of years ago? Was it a way to honor the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, or did it have a more profound, mystical significance, perhaps representing a cosmic connection between the living and the dead, or between this world and the divine? The idea of an astronomical function is further bolstered by the discovery of carvings on some of the stones inside the tomb. These markings, which resemble spirals, zigzags, and other geometric patterns, are reminiscent of other Neolithic symbols found in burial sites across Britain and Ireland. But unlike other sites where the meaning of these symbols remains unclear, the alignment of these carvings with the solstice sunrise suggests that they may have had an even more profound role in ritual. Could these spirals and zigzags have been representations of the sun's path across the sky, or perhaps the cosmic journey of the soul after death? In addition to the carvings, Bryn Celli is notable for its intricate construction. The tomb is not just a mound of earth, but a carefully planned structure with large stones and boulders placed at precise angles. Some of these stones are so large and heavy that they would have required great effort to move, suggesting that the construction of Bryn Celli was a communal project requiring considerable resources and skill. But why invest so much labor in the construction of a tomb, and why such specific attention to detail? Was this a tomb for an important leader, or was it meant for the entire community? Perhaps the tomb had a ritualistic significance beyond the burial of a single individual. One of the most intriguing aspects of Bryn Celli is the fact that, despite its relatively small size, it seems to have been part of a much larger ceremonial landscape. The tomb is situated near other ancient monuments, such as standing stones and earthworks, that seem to have had a purpose tied to the passage of time, the stars, and the cycles of nature. Was Bryn Celli part of a larger ritual complex where people gathered to celebrate the solstices and equinoxes, to mark the changing seasons, or to honor the dead in a manner that went beyond the tomb itself? Was this tomb a place of spiritual power, where the living could commune with their ancestors, or a portal to another realm entirely? The tomb's passage has also been the subject of speculation. Some have suggested that Bryn Celli could have been used for ancestral worship, a place where the living interacted with the spirits of the dead, much like other Neolithic tombs across Europe. This could explain the importance of the sun's alignment, as it would serve to emphasize the idea of death as part of a natural cycle, with the deceased returning to the earth as part of the seasonal renewal. If this was the case, then Bryn Celli might have been more than a place of burial. It could have been a spiritual center where the boundaries between the physical and metaphysical worlds were blurred. But still, there are questions that persist. Why were the people who built Bryn Celli so focused on aligning their tomb with the sun and the heavens? Was it a way of honoring specific deities, or was it a more personal, internal reflection of their own beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife? What role did the people of Anglesey play in the broader Neolithic world? Were they isolated, or did they have connections to the larger networks of megalithic builders across Britain and Europe? And perhaps most importantly, what was the relationship between the tomb's stone carvings, its astronomical alignments, and the people's conception of the divine? Were these merely symbols of the cycles of nature, or did they represent something deeper, an understanding of the cosmos and the universe that has been lost to us over the centuries? As we stand before Bryn Celli, we are left with more questions than answers. This humble mound, with its perfect alignment and intricate design, offers a glimpse into a world that has long since vanished. Yet, in its silence, it continues to speak of a people who sought to understand their place in the universe and who left behind a testament to their beliefs in stone. The mystery of Bryn Celli remains, a mystery that may never be fully explained, but one that continues to invite us to wonder. What was hidden here, beneath the stones and the earth, waiting to be uncovered? What knowledge has the passage of time yet to reveal? As we turn our gaze from the mist-shrouded passage tombs of Bryn Celli, we journey eastward, across time and continents, to one of the most enigmatic and ancient urban centers in human history, Mohenjo-Daro. Located in the vast, arid expanse of the Indus Valley in present-day Pakistan, Mohenjo-Daro is a place that echoes with the silent whispers of a lost civilization, one of the oldest, yet most elusive, to have ever risen and fallen. Rising from the dry plains of Sind, Mohenjo-Daro was once a thriving metropolis, part of the Indus Valley civilization, which flourished around 2500 BC. At its peak, the city was a marvel of urban planning. Its streets, laid out in a grid-like pattern, were meticulously engineered with advanced drainage systems, an impressive feat for any civilization, let alone one from so many millennia ago. The buildings, made of fired brick, stood in stark contrast to the surrounding landscape, their walls still visible today as remnants of an urban dream long since turned to dust. Yet, for all the architectural sophistication and evidence of a highly organized society, the true nature of Mohenjo-Daro and its people remains shrouded in mystery. Unlike ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia or Egypt, which left behind rich collections of written records, the Indus Valley civilization did not. The people of Mohenjo-Daro did not leave behind any decipherable written language, and their script, which appears on seals and pottery, remains undeciphered. Without a key to their language, we can only guess at the deeper meaning behind the city's layout, its art, and its sudden, dramatic decline. The site itself is haunting in its stillness. Scattered throughout the ruins are the remains of well-planned houses, public baths, granaries, and artifacts. But what stands out most is the eerie absence of any definitive clues about the city's sudden collapse. Mohenjo-Daro was abandoned around 1900 BC, and no one truly knows why. Theories abound, ranging from climate change and drought to violent invasions or even internal strife. Yet, as compelling as these theories are, none fully explains the city's demise. The grandeur of Mohenjo-Daro was abruptly replaced by a silence that stretches through the centuries. The Great Bath is one of the most famous features of Mohenjo-Daro. This large rectangular pool, made of brick and measuring about 12 meters long, is believed to have had religious or ritual significance. Was it used for purification or ceremonial bathing, or perhaps as a communal gathering space? The scale of the structure, along with its placement in the heart of the city, suggests that it was of great importance. Its construction, too, reflects the advanced engineering skills of the people. Waterproof bricks were used to line the pool, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of hydraulic engineering. But what was its true purpose? Was it a place of spiritual cleansing, or did it serve a more practical role, perhaps in maintaining the city's water supply? Nearby, the granary complex raises its own set of questions. With its precise construction and extensive size, the granary suggests a highly organized economy, one that could manage the production and storage of large amounts of grain, possibly to support the entire city. Was Mohenjo-Daro a centralized state, with a ruling elite controlling resources and trade? Or was it a more egalitarian society, where these resources were distributed more evenly? The lack of clear evidence makes it difficult to say. But perhaps the most striking feature of Mohenjo-Daro is its mysterious seal carvings. Intricately carved stone seals that depict a wide range of animals, deities, and human figures. The seals have sparked much speculation. Some scholars believe that the symbols might represent gods or religious motifs, while others suggest that the seals were used for trade and commerce. In one particularly famous depiction, a figure sitting cross-legged, often referred to as the Pashupati seal, shows a human-like figure surrounded by animals, suggesting some form of shamanistic or ritualistic symbolism. But without a clearer understanding of the culture's religious practices, the true significance of these symbols remains elusive. Were the seals religious icons, administrative tools, or both? Equally perplexing are the remains of skeletal remains found at Mohenjo-Daro. Archaeologists have uncovered dozens of skeletons scattered throughout the city, many of which appear to have been buried hurriedly, sometimes in poses that suggest a sudden and catastrophic event. Some bodies were found lying in streets, while others were located near the city's bath complex or in what appear to be public spaces. The positioning of these remains has led to theories about a violent collapse, perhaps as a result of invasion or internal conflict. However, there is no definitive evidence of mass graves or a battle scene. Instead, the remains suggest a more mysterious end, a city emptied in haste, its people either fleeing or caught in a moment of unknown disaster. One particularly unsettling theory that has emerged, though it remains largely speculative, is that the sudden disappearance of Mohenjo-Daro could have been caused by some kind of radioactive event. Some archaeologists have pointed to the city's strange skeletal remains, which exhibit unusual signs of radiation exposure, though these findings have not been universally accepted. There are even fringe theories that suggest that Mohenjo-Daro may have suffered a fate similar to that of the biblical city of Sodom, destroyed by some kind of catastrophic event, whether natural or supernatural. Could the city have been exposed to an unknown disaster that wiped it off the map? Or were the people of Mohenjo-Daro victims of a more mundane but equally deadly environmental collapse? There is another, perhaps more unsettling question that persists about the nature of Mohenjo-Daro's culture. Who were the people who built it, and where did they go? While the Indus Valley civilization was one of the largest and most advanced in the ancient world, very little is known about its people. The lack of written records leaves us to wonder whether the civilization was overthrown, displaced by climate change, or whether it simply dissolved over time, its inhabitants absorbed into neighboring cultures or moved elsewhere. What we do know is that the Indus Valley civilization had trade networks that stretched as far as Mesopotamia, and its influence can still be felt in the region today. Yet, despite this, the mystery of Mohenjo-Daro's disappearance remains one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of ancient history. As we stand amid the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, the city that once hummed with life and industry, it is hard not to feel the weight of its untold story pressing upon us. The secrets hidden in the bones, the seals, and the architecture speak of a civilization that was far ahead of its time. Yet, despite decades of research, we still cannot answer the most fundamental questions. Why did Mohenjo-Daro fall? What caused its people to vanish so suddenly? And, most hauntingly, what did they understand about their world? And what was lost when they disappeared? In the shadows of this ancient city, the echoes of its people linger. The answers may be buried deep beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered. Or perhaps they are lost forever, leaving us to wonder just how much of our own history remains hidden in the sands of time. As we leave behind the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, we shift our focus to another mysterious site, nestled in the dense mountains of Bolivia, a place where ancient stone walls rise against the backdrop of the Andean highlands. Here, amidst the rugged terrain and verdant vegetation, lies the forgotten fortress of Samaipata. Known as El Fuerte de Samaipata, this enigmatic site remains one of South America's most intriguing archaeological mysteries, blending ancient history with a veneer of myth and speculation. Samaipata is located at an elevation of approximately 2,000 meters in the foothills of the Andes, a place where the landscape itself seems to speak of ancient peoples and lost civilizations. The name Samaipata means resting place in Quechua, the language of the Inca, and it is fitting. This is a place where the past lingers, suspended between the earth and the sky. The fortress is built atop a massive, naturally occurring sandstone outcrop, which towers above the surrounding valley. From here, the views are breathtaking, vast expanses of forests, rivers, and rolling hills, stretching out as far as the eye can see. It's easy to imagine that this was a place not only of strategic importance but also of deep spiritual significance. The site itself is an intriguing amalgamation of stone platforms, terraces, and carvings, many of which have yet to be fully understood. The most striking feature of Samaipata is its central rock slab, a massive stone surface that is carved with an array of symbols, including what appears to be a large, enigmatic figure surrounded by intricate patterns and channels. Some believe this figure represents a deity or shamanistic symbol, but no one knows for certain. The carving, which covers a portion of the rock outcrop, is unlike anything else found in the region. Its scale is impressive, and its age, though debated, is believed to date back to around 2000 BC, or even earlier. But who created it, and for what purpose? The purpose of Samaipata itself is another mystery that has perplexed researchers for decades. While it is commonly described as a fortress, its layout and features suggest that it may have served multiple functions. The site includes temples, ceremonial platforms, and ritual spaces, all of which point to its importance as a religious and political center. However, there is no consensus on whether Samaipata was originally built by the Incas, the Moche, or even an earlier, unknown culture. In fact, the site's sheer complexity challenges any simple classification. While the Inca are the most widely recognized culture associated with the region, the evidence for their involvement in Samaipata is inconclusive. Some scholars argue that the site predates the Inca Empire and was used by earlier indigenous peoples, such as the Chane or Guarani. Others maintain that the Inca adapted the site for their own purposes after their conquest of the region, incorporating it into their vast network of military and religious sites. What is clear is that Samaipata played a significant role in the Andean world long before the rise of the Incas, and its historical significance is still unfolding. What makes Samaipata especially captivating, however, is the absence of written records or definitive inscriptions that could provide insight into its purpose. No known texts or accounts from the time have been uncovered to explain why such an imposing structure was built, or how it functioned in the broader context of Andean society. This absence of written evidence only deepens the mystery, leaving scholars to rely on fragmentary archaeological clues and speculative theories. One of the most striking aspects of the fortress is its astronomical significance. Similar to many other ancient sites around the world, the layout of Samaipata seems to align with celestial events, including the solstices and equinoxes. This is particularly evident in the carving of a large, slightly curved stone that runs across the central platform. Some have suggested that this could have been used as a kind of solar calendar, marking the changing of the seasons. The idea of astronomical alignment in ancient societies is not new, but the precision with which the people of Samaipata may have organized their sacred sites around these celestial events is a remarkable testament to their understanding of time and the natural world. Yet, even as these theories about astronomical alignments emerge, the true purpose of Samaipata remains shrouded in uncertainty. Was it a sacred site, used for religious ceremonies to honor the gods? Or was it a military stronghold, designed to protect the region from invaders? Perhaps it was both, a hybrid of the sacred and the strategic. The stone carvings on the site offer hints, but their meaning is still open to interpretation. What role did this place play in the spiritual and political life of the ancient people who built it? One particularly mysterious aspect of Samaipata is the large stone faces carved into the rock. These faces are often referred to as the faces of Samaipata, and they are thought to represent the spirits or gods that the ancient peoples worshipped. Their expressions are enigmatic, with some faces appearing to smile or gaze upwards, while others seem to be contorted into more serious or even fearsome expressions. These carvings have sparked numerous theories, with some suggesting they represent shamanistic figures or deities connected to the forces of nature, while others see them as symbols of ancestral worship or ritual offerings. In addition to the faces, the site also features intricate carvings of animals, such as serpents, birds, and jaguars, which could have been symbols of power, strength, or spiritual significance. These animal motifs are not uncommon in the art and iconography of ancient Andean cultures, but at Samaipata, they take on a unique form, suggesting that this site may have held a level of spiritual or mystical importance far beyond what we can currently comprehend. Despite the wealth of fascinating details about Samaipata, some aspects of its history and function remain entirely speculative. Was it a place of initiation, where young warriors or priests were tested in rituals of spiritual and physical endurance? Could the sacred rock carvings serve as a form of communication with the gods, or as a record of the people's relationship with the natural and supernatural worlds? What remains to be discovered beneath the surface of this ancient site? As we stand before the towering sandstone outcrop, the same questions that have baffled archaeologists and explorers for centuries continue to echo through the valley. Samaipata, with its intricate carvings, astronomical alignments, and mysterious stone faces, offers a glimpse into a world that is both deeply familiar and profoundly strange. The site's purpose, its creators, and its significance all remain elusive, leaving us to wonder, what was Samaipata truly meant to be? What truths are still hidden within its stone walls, awaiting the moment when the secrets of the past can finally be revealed? In the quiet solitude of the Andean mountains, it seems that Samaipata's mysteries are not just a relic of the past. They are an invitation to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep wondering about the forces that shaped the ancient world. As we shift focus from the fortress of Samaipata, a site steeped in mystery, we turn our attention to another enigma that lies at the crossroads of ancient history and archaeology: Khirbet Qeiyafa. Nestled between the rolling hills of the Shephelah region in Palestine, this ancient site has captured the curiosity of scholars and explorers alike, offering a glimpse into a world long vanished, yet filled with profound mysteries. The ruins of Khirbet Qeiyafa lie quietly beneath the sun-baked earth, their secrets buried beneath layers of time. Discovered in 2007 during excavations for a new highway, the site's significance soon became apparent. Khirbet Qeiyafa is an ancient city, one that dates back to the 10th century BC, a time when the kingdom of Judah was just beginning to emerge from the shadow of its neighboring powers. Located strategically on a hill overlooking the Elah Valley, the site holds an extraordinary position, both geographically and historically. Unlike many ancient sites that reveal their secrets over decades of excavation, Khirbet Qeiyafa's discovery was marked by a rare and almost immediate recognition of its importance. The layout of the city, with its fortified walls, gateways, and ceremonial structures, immediately set it apart from other contemporary sites in the region. The most striking feature of Khirbet Qeiyafa is its fortifications, imposing, solid, and designed to withstand both military and environmental pressures. These structures hint at a city built for defense, but also a city with purpose and organization. Khirbet Qeiyafa is often described as a fortified Judean city, but what is striking about this site is the absence of any real evidence of its connection to the biblical Davidic dynasty, despite the fact that the city was thriving during a period traditionally linked to the reign of King David. In fact, Khirbet Qeiyafa has become the focal point for debates surrounding the historicity of David and his kingdom. Some scholars argue that the city provides evidence of a strong centralized state in Judah during the 10th century BC, while others suggest that it could point to something much earlier, perhaps a pre-monarchical settlement or a city in conflict with neighboring powers. Among the most intriguing aspects of the Khirbet Qeiyafa site are the inscriptions discovered there. In 2008, archaeologists unearthed what appears to be a unique inscription, an ancient Hebrew text that some believe could be one of the earliest examples of alphabetic writing in the region. The text, though incomplete and difficult to decipher, has sparked debates about the literacy levels of the people of Khirbet Qeiyafa and their relationship to the broader cultures of the ancient Near East. Was this a city of literate, educated elites, or were the inscriptions related to ritualistic or governmental practices? How did this written language fit into the broader context of the evolving Hebrew script of the time? The inscriptions themselves are remarkable, but their true significance remains elusive. What were they used for? Were they part of a larger administrative system, or were they more ceremonial in nature, perhaps linked to religious practices or political rituals? The lack of a clear understanding of the writing and its context leaves many questions unanswered. Were the inscriptions connected to an organized society that governed the city? Or were they the marks of an isolated, primitive community with no real connection to the wider world of the ancient Near East? One of the more speculative aspects of Khirbet Qeiyafa is its possible connection to the biblical city of Sha'arayim, mentioned in the Old Testament. According to the Book of Samuel, Sha'arayim was a fortified city in the kingdom of Judah, located near the Elah Valley, where the famous battle between David and Goliath is said to have taken place. Some scholars have speculated that Khirbet Qeiyafa could be the very city referenced in the biblical account, offering an unprecedented opportunity to link the stories of the Bible with physical evidence. However, the connection remains unproven, and some argue that the identification of Khirbet Qeiyafa with Sha'arayim is based more on wishful thinking than solid archaeological evidence. The fortifications of Khirbet Qeiyafa are another point of fascination. The city's walls, built of large stones and reinforced with massive gates, suggest a level of military preparedness that was unusual for small cities of the period. But who were they preparing to defend against? Was the city built in anticipation of threats from neighboring regions, such as the Philistines or Arameans? Or was it a sign of a centralized political structure that sought to establish control over the area, creating a fortified city to enforce its rule? The presence of military features, such as the gates and walls, speaks of a city that was not only a place of residence, but also a strategic point in the defense of Judah during a turbulent period. Despite the many fascinating features of Khirbet Qeiyafa, there are still significant gaps in our understanding of the site. Why was this city built? Was it part of a larger Judean expansion, or did it serve a more localized function, protecting a small community from external threats? And what caused its abandonment around the end of the 10th century BC? Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of destruction at the site, but no conclusive explanation has emerged for the cause. Was it an attack by an outside force, or did internal conflicts lead to its downfall? Could the city have been abandoned as a result of economic decline, or was there another, more mysterious force at play? Khirbet Qeiyafa also raises important questions about the nature of urbanization in the ancient Near East. Was it a thriving city-state, or was it part of a larger, emerging state structure? And how did the city's fortifications and writing system fit into the broader context of ancient Palestine? Some scholars suggest that Khirbet Qeiyafa represents the emergence of an early monarchy in Judah, while others point to it as evidence of a tribal society on the cusp of larger political organization. The absence of monumental palaces or other signs of royal power at Khirbet Qeiyafa has led some to suggest that the city might not have been a political center, but rather a military outpost or a religious stronghold. If this was a city built for defense, what does that say about the political dynamics of the time? Was it a symbol of an emerging nation-state, or was it a symbol of desperation, built to resist the pressures of surrounding powers? The true purpose of Khirbet Qeiyafa remains unclear, and perhaps it is this very uncertainty that gives the site its power, drawing us into its ancient mysteries. As we leave behind the ruins of Khirbet Qeiyafa, one can't help but feel the weight of its untold history. With its fortified walls, its inscriptions, and its mysterious abandonment, Khirbet Qeiyafa serves as both a window into the past and a mirror reflecting the unanswered questions that linger within the gaps of ancient history. What secrets does this city still hold? And as we continue to dig deeper, will we ever fully understand the significance of this remarkable site, or is it destined to remain just one more mystery in the ever-evolving story of ancient civilizations? In the quiet of the Shephelah, the winds carry the echoes of a time long past, whispers of a city, a kingdom, and a people whose true legacy may yet remain hidden beneath the sands of history. As we leave the enigmatic remnants of Khirbet Qeiyafa behind, we venture eastward to another mysterious site, a place where the ancient world and its complexities come together in a still unfolding puzzle. Here, in the Indian subcontinent, lies Sisupalgarh, an ancient fortification that has captivated historians and archaeologists for decades. Nestled in the Khurda district of Odisha in eastern India, this site remains one of the most intriguing examples of urban planning and proto-historic civilization. When you first set eyes on Sisupalgarh, you are confronted with the vastness of its fortified walls, rising out of the landscape like a sentinel from an earlier age. The site is expansive, over 1.5 kilometers in length, with walls that stretch around the perimeter, enclosing what was once a thriving urban center. Massive stone constructions and the remnants of gates evoke a feeling of grandeur, yet the mystery of Sisupalgarh runs deeper than what is immediately visible. This ancient fortified city, dating back to the 6th century BC, is considered one of the most significant archaeological sites of the Iron Age in India. It offers a glimpse into a world that, despite its complex urban structure and technological advances, remains largely unknown. The proto-phase of Sisupalgarh, which refers to its earliest stages of development, offers a tantalizing glimpse into a civilization that existed long before the rise of the famous Mauryan Empire. But who were the people who built it, and what was their true purpose? What makes Sisupalgarh especially fascinating is the lack of definitive historical records to explain its purpose or the identity of its builders. While it's clear that the site was inhabited and held strategic importance, the absence of written language from the time, coupled with the absence of monumental structures or inscriptions bearing the names of rulers, has left researchers with more questions than answers. Unlike other ancient cities whose rulers' names are etched into stones or preserved in records, Sisupalgarh offers few such clues. The layout of Sisupalgarh, however, is an extraordinary feat of ancient planning. The walls, constructed from large stone blocks and reinforced with mud bricks, stand as a testament to the engineering ingenuity of its creators. The fortifications themselves appear designed for defense, with strategically placed gates and bastions that seem to serve both as military deterrents and as symbols of power. The city's inner structure seems well organized, with clear divisions between different sections, perhaps demarcating residential, commercial, and ritual spaces. Among the most intriguing elements of Sisupalgarh's proto-phase are the granaries discovered at the site. These massive storage facilities, built with care and precision, suggest that the inhabitants of this early urban center had a strong sense of organization and a centralized system of food storage and distribution. This raises a crucial question. Was Sisupalgarh a commercial hub, or was it perhaps the capital of a fledgling kingdom or tribal federation? The fact that such a large and well-planned settlement existed at this time period suggests a society that was not only capable of advanced architectural feats, but also skilled in agriculture, trade, and governance. The granaries, in particular, point toward a level of economic sophistication, indicating that the people of Sisupalgarh were not only agriculturalists, but also traders, with a system of surplus food storage that would have been necessary for trade, and possibly for military purposes as well. Yet, despite this evidence of urban planning, Sisupalgarh's true nature remains elusive. Who were the people behind these impressive constructions? Some archaeologists have speculated that Sisupalgarh may have been a regional capital for an early tribal or monarchy system in the area. Others have suggested that the site could have been a religious center or a fortified trading post, strategically placed to control local trade routes. Its proximity to the ancient river systems in the region would have made it a crucial link in trade networks, and the city could very well have been a hub for the exchange of goods and ideas. The people of Sisupalgarh likely interacted with other groups in the subcontinent, from the Ganges Valley to the Deccan Plateau, but direct evidence of such interaction is sparse. There are no clear signs of large-scale conquest or military expansion in the area, nor are there inscriptions that would suggest a powerful ruling elite. This raises the question, was Sisupalgarh a political capital, or a center of trade and culture that existed independently of large empires? Adding to the mystery is the absence of burial sites within the fortified area, a detail that further complicates the understanding of the city's functions. Burials, whether simple or monumental, often provide a wealth of information about a culture's beliefs, hierarchy, and social structure. The absence of such sites at Sisupalgarh suggests that its inhabitants may have practiced a different form of burial, or perhaps engaged in different ritualistic practices. Were the dead buried outside the city walls? Or was this city not a center of the living, but a place of rituals, gatherings, or trade alone? In addition to the granaries, other artifacts found at the site, pottery, tools, and fragments of sculpture, offer glimpses into the culture of the people who lived there. The pottery, in particular, is often decorated with geometric patterns that echo the traditions of later Iron Age cultures in India. Some of the sculptures depict forms of animal imagery, a common motif in early Indian art, possibly suggesting the importance of animals in the spiritual or social life of the city's inhabitants. One of the most compelling aspects of Sisupalgarh, however, lies in its mysterious connection to other ancient cities in the region, particularly the Nanda dynasty and the rise of Mauryan power in the 4th century BC. The site predates the Mauryan Empire, but its fortifications and urban features show signs of a civilization that was already on the cusp of something much greater, a transition from tribal to organized statehood. Could Sisupalgarh have been a precursor to the grand cities of the Mauryan era? Or was it a sprawling settlement that simply never grew into a fully fledged empire? As with many ancient sites, the ultimate truth of Sisupalgarh's function and significance may remain forever out of reach. Is it possible that this city was simply a fortified outpost built for defensive purposes, or was it a vibrant center of trade, religion, and power? And what caused it to fade into history, with so little left behind to explain its story? The fortifications and architecture of Sisupalgarh stand as a testament to a people whose identity remains shrouded in mystery. Were they the predecessors of the Mauryas, or an entirely independent civilization whose history has been lost to time? As we continue our exploration of ancient sites, we are left to wonder, what might still lie hidden beneath the soil of Sisupalgarh? What answers might the earth yet reveal about the proto-phase of this remarkable site, a forgotten city that once thrived on the edge of history? And perhaps, as we peer into the depths of time, the question remains, what mysteries of the past will continue to elude us, even as we seek their secrets in the stones and ruins of the ancient world? As we move from the ancient walls of Sisupalgarh, we now turn our attention to a different kind of architectural wonder, one that is not just a marvel of design, but also of function and purpose. Chand Baori, located in the village of Abaneri, near Jaipur in Rajasthan, India, is a stepwell that defies easy explanation. It is a structure of both simplicity and profound complexity, a masterpiece of ancient water management that has intrigued scholars, architects, and explorers alike for centuries. At first glance, the Chand Baori stepwell appears as a vast, enigmatic pyramid descending deep into the earth. The sheer scale of the structure is staggering. The well, which is among the largest and deepest stepwells in India, reaches a depth of 20 meters, with a series of 3,500 narrow steps arranged in a geometric pattern that seemingly drops into an abyss. As you stand at the top and peer down into the dizzying rows of stairs, the sight is both mesmerizing and overwhelming, a perfect geometric spiral designed not only to look extraordinary, but to serve an extraordinarily practical purpose. Built sometime in the 9th century AD, Chand Baori was constructed during the reign of King Chanda, and its purpose was clear. It was designed to store water, providing a reliable water source in an area where droughts were frequent and the heat could be brutal. The stepwell was ingeniously crafted to capture rainwater, channeling it down through the steps into the well, ensuring a constant supply for the local population. It served as both a functional utility and an artistic monument, and over time, it became a spiritual symbol of the region's relationship to water, life, and survival in a land where water was often scarce. But there is more to this incredible structure than meets the eye. As you descend into the stepwell, each successive flight of stairs seems to take you deeper, not just into the earth, but into the mysteries that surround it. Why would the architects of such a pragmatic structure go to such lengths to design it with such geometric precision? The design isn't merely functional, it's almost architecturally poetic, blending form and function in a way that seems to transcend its immediate purpose. The stepwell's design is stunning in its symmetry. The steps are arranged in a perfect pattern, creating an illusion of infinite depth and dimension. The rows of stairs, with their sharp angles and near-perfect alignment, give the impression of a portal leading into an otherworldly realm, a gateway to another dimension. There's a strange sense of the supernatural here, something beyond what we normally associate with a mere water source. The well feels as though it's been designed with a higher, perhaps even mystical purpose. Why would such a practical structure have been built with such deliberate beauty? What role did aesthetics play in a stepwell, where the primary concern would have been the availability of water? Some suggest that the well may have been intended as a ritualistic space, a sacred place where water symbolized not just physical sustenance, but spiritual renewal. The geometric precision of the design might represent the order of the cosmos, with the water acting as a life-giving force that connected the human realm to the divine. Yet, there are other, more speculative theories surrounding the purpose of Chand Baori. Some claim that it could have been a ritualistic site associated with worship or astrological rites. The deep, cavernous depths of the well could symbolize the descent into the earth, into darkness, and the steps might represent the journey of the soul, moving through different stages of existence or consciousness. These interpretations suggest that Chand Baori may have had a spiritual dimension that transcended its functional use, a theory that is further supported by the presence of a nearby temple dedicated to Harshat Mata, the goddess of happiness and prosperity. This blending of the functional and the sacred in the architecture of Chand Baori raises intriguing questions. Did the people who constructed this stepwell see water not merely as a resource to be hoarded, but as a symbol of life itself? Was the intricate design a way of honoring water's divine role in sustaining life? The answer is elusive, and despite the wealth of knowledge available to archaeologists, the true purpose of Chand Baori continues to remain unresolved. Another fascinating aspect of Chand Baori is the mystery of its construction. The sheer labor involved in creating such a massive structure is staggering. The stepwell was likely built by hundreds, if not thousands, of workers. Yet there is no definitive record of how exactly this extraordinary feat of engineering was accomplished. The well, which is carved into the earth itself, presents challenges in terms of logistical organization, the transport and placement of thousands of heavy stones, the creation of the intricate staircases, and the careful alignment of each row of steps. How was this done with the limited tools available in the 9th century? Moreover, there is something disquieting about the structure's sheer scale. The rows of stairs seem almost too vast to be practical. Was this stepwell, in fact, a public utility, or was it built for an elite group of individuals? Some have suggested that the incredible size of the well was meant to impress, perhaps even to intimidate those who saw it. Was it intended to reflect the power of the king who commissioned it, a demonstration of his ability to command both water and labor? Or was it something more, perhaps a spiritual testament to the power of water as a force that could both nourish and destroy? One of the most intriguing aspects of Chand Baori is its presence in the collective mythos of Rajasthan. Many legends surround the stepwell, some of which point to its supernatural origins. Local stories tell of a hidden chamber at the bottom of the well, a secret room that could lead to a realm of the gods. Others speak of mystical rituals conducted within its walls, where the steps may have been used in initiation rites for those seeking spiritual enlightenment. The connection to the spiritual realm remains deeply embedded in the local folklore, which adds an ethereal layer to the site's mystery. In the end, as you stand at the edge of Chand Baori, looking down into its seemingly endless depths, the question remains: what was this grand structure truly designed for? Was it simply an extraordinary feat of water management? Or was it a symbolic structure, imbued with spiritual significance far beyond its apparent function? And if it was a ritualistic site, as some suggest, what was the nature of the rituals conducted there, and who were the individuals who used it? Perhaps Chand Baori will forever remain a mystery, a gateway into the unknown, challenging us to ponder how much of ancient history will always be left in the dark, just like the steps that lead so deep into its shadowy depths. What might we have missed, hidden beneath the stones of the past, awaiting discovery. The story of Chand Baori is far from over, and the mysteries it holds, still largely unexplained, beckon us to dig deeper. As we leave behind the intricacies of the Chand Baori stepwell, we now journey to an entirely different, yet equally enigmatic corner of the world. Corsica, an island that holds within its rocky embrace a collection of ancient megalithic structures that have baffled archaeologists and historians for centuries. The Dolmen cluster of Corsica, a sprawling array of stone tombs and structures, forms one of the most mystifying archaeological sites in the Mediterranean, revealing a glimpse into a distant past that remains veiled in mystery. The dolmens of Corsica are scattered across the rugged hills and valleys, often in the most unexpected locations. Some sit atop windswept ridges, while others are nestled in the dense, shadowy forests that cloak much of the island. These megalithic tombs, made from enormous slabs of stone, evoke a sense of awe and wonder. Each dolmen consists of large upright stones supporting a massive horizontal capstone, forming a chamber-like structure, often with a passage leading into the heart of the tomb. The stones themselves, some weighing several tons, have been carefully selected and placed, their surfaces weathered and worn by centuries of exposure to the elements. The dolmen cluster is not a single site, but rather a collection of dolmens spread across various regions of the island, most notably in the Castagniccia and Capi Corsu areas. Hundreds of these ancient tombs dot the landscape, their exact number still a matter of debate, with some estimates ranging into the hundreds. Their construction is believed to have taken place between 2000 BC and 1500 BC, during the early Bronze Age, a period in which Corsica was home to a mysterious people whose identity remains largely unknown. The mystery of the dolmens lies not just in their monumental scale, but in the purpose behind their construction. Why did the inhabitants of ancient Corsica go to such extraordinary lengths to erect these structures? The answer, as is often the case with ancient monuments, remains shrouded in uncertainty. Most scholars agree that these dolmens were likely used as tombs, but the specifics of their function and the rituals associated with them are still the subject of much speculation. One of the most striking features of the dolmens is their alignment. Many of them are positioned with great care, aligned with the cardinal directions or with particular celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes. Was this alignment purely coincidental, or did it serve a deeper, perhaps ritualistic purpose? Some archaeologists suggest that the dolmens may have been constructed to honor the dead in a way that was closely tied to the movements of the sun, the moon, and the stars. The dead, it seems, were not merely buried. They were placed in these tombs to join the celestial realm, with the positioning of the stones reflecting their connection to the wider cosmos. But the mystery grows deeper when one begins to look beyond the physical features of these tombs. In recent years, a number of theories have emerged that suggest these dolmens might have had a function that went beyond mere burial. Could they have been ritual sites? Places where the living and the dead interacted in complex spiritual ceremonies? Some researchers have suggested that these stone structures could have been used as astronomical observatories, their chambers serving as places for observing the stars or tracking the movements of celestial bodies. In this view, the dolmens would have been more than tombs. They would have been sites of profound cosmic significance, where the ancient Corsicans could commune with the forces of nature and the heavens. Adding another layer of intrigue is the construction technique behind the dolmens. The stones, which are believed to have been quarried from local sites, were transported and assembled in such a way that has led to many questions about how the builders managed to move and position such massive stones without the advanced technology we take for granted today. Was it simple manual labor, or did the builders possess a knowledge of engineering and construction techniques that has been lost to history? Some suggest that the dolmens were constructed using primitive levers, pulleys, and ramps, while others point to the possibility of unknown methods that we have yet to rediscover. The sheer ingenuity required to create these megalithic structures in an age long before modern machinery speaks to the advanced skills of the people who built them. Further complicating the mystery of the dolmens is the lack of written records or clear historical evidence about the culture that built them. Unlike the Egyptians, Greeks, or Romans, who left behind abundant written texts, the people of Corsica did not document their construction methods, their belief systems, or their understanding of the world. Instead, we are left with the stones themselves, silent sentinels that speak only in riddles, offering tantalizing clues but no clear answers. One theory that has emerged suggests that the dolmens were part of a wider cultural network that spanned much of the Mediterranean and beyond. Could the builders of these structures have been influenced by other megalithic cultures, such as those in Britain or Brittany? Some believe that there was a shared cultural and religious framework that united these distant peoples, a framework centered around death, the afterlife, and the celestial. If this is true, it raises the possibility that the dolmens of Corsica were part of a much larger, interregional network of spiritual sites, each serving as a link in a vast chain of rituals and beliefs that spanned thousands of miles. Yet, despite all the theories and ideas that have been proposed, the true purpose of the dolmen cluster remains elusive. Was it purely a ritualistic space for the ancient Corsicans, or did it have a more practical function? Could these tombs have served as a social or political tool, used to display power and prestige within a community? Or, as some suggest, were they cosmological markers, reflecting a deep and complex understanding of the universe that we are only beginning to comprehend? As you stand before one of these ancient stones, touching the cold surface and contemplating its age, you can't help but wonder about the people who built it. Who were they, and what did they believe? What mysteries might lie hidden beneath the earth, yet to be uncovered? The dolmen cluster of Corsica is but one example of the many megalithic wonders that dot our world, structures that stand as silent witnesses to the long-forgotten past, waiting to tell their stories. The answers remain elusive, but perhaps, in time, more pieces of the puzzle will fall into place. What secrets do these stones still hold, buried in the ancient landscape of Corsica? And will we ever fully understand their true significance? Or will the mystery of the dolmens remain forever, like the stones themselves, anchored in the past, waiting for the right moment to reveal their truths? As we leave behind the enigmatic world of the dolmen cluster of Corsica, our journey now carries us across the sea to the northern coast of Brittany, France. There, on a quiet peninsula overlooking the waves, stands a remarkable structure that seems to echo through the ages. The Cairn of Barnenez, a massive ancient burial mound, rises against the landscape, shrouded in mystery and wonder. As one of the oldest and largest cairns in all of Europe, it compels the observer to pause and question, who built it, and why? The Cairn of Barnenez is an imposing monument, its stones hewn from the land around it and stacked with meticulous care. It stretches over 72 meters long, 25 meters wide, and rises nearly 8 meters high, covering a vast area like a massive stone blanket laid upon the earth. From a distance, it might seem like an unassuming natural hill, but upon closer inspection, its true nature becomes apparent. It is an ancient megalithic tomb, built at a time when the first great civilizations of the world were only just beginning to form. Dating back to around 4,500 BC, the cairn is a monumental structure from the Neolithic period, older even than the pyramids of Egypt. It predates many of the stone circles and dolmens found throughout Europe, and is thought to have been constructed by an early agricultural society that had mastered the art of quarrying and transporting massive stones. In its original form, the cairn likely served as a communal burial site for important members of this society, perhaps leaders or individuals of high status. Today, its remains are divided into several chambers and passageways, all made of carefully placed stones, some weighing as much as 5 tons. The cairn sits on a prominent hilltop overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, and its location raises questions. Was it intentionally placed here, perhaps with astronomical or ritual significance in mind? There are some scholars who believe that the cairn may have been constructed with specific alignments to the solstices or lunar cycles, suggesting that the people who built it had an advanced understanding of celestial movements. The possibility that this structure was not just a burial place, but a site of ritual worship, adds a layer of intrigue to its already enigmatic nature. Inside the cairn, a labyrinth of stone passages and chambers awaits. These passageways, some of which are still intact, wind their way through the structure in a way that feels almost intentional, as though the builders sought to create a sacred space, a journey through stone that would lead the departed into the afterlife. Some of these passageways are narrow and low, suggesting that only those of specific stature or importance were meant to pass through them. The chambers inside the cairn are arranged in such a way that they suggest a ritualistic or spiritual purpose. Several stone slabs are decorated with intricate carvings, geometric shapes, and motifs that hint at a belief system we can barely begin to understand. These markings, though simple, could represent a connection to ancient deities or the cycles of life and death. Some of the symbols seem to echo those found in other megalithic sites across Europe, from the Celtic regions to the Mediterranean, suggesting that the cultures of ancient Europe were more connected than we might have assumed. However, it's not just the stonework that raises questions. The construction techniques used to build the Cairn of Barnenez are another puzzle. How did the builders, without the aid of metal tools or modern machinery, transport and position these massive stones with such precision? It is difficult to imagine how such an immense undertaking was achieved without a highly organized workforce, sophisticated techniques, and an advanced understanding of geometry and engineering. Some have even speculated that the people who constructed the cairn might have had access to lost technologies or knowledge, skills that have been forgotten or erased by time. Were these ancient builders simply genius artisans, or was there something more to their methods than we currently understand? The historical context of Barnenez adds another layer of mystery. The construction of this enormous cairn predates the great civilizations of the Mediterranean, the Indus Valley, and Mesopotamia, but what of the people who built it? Little is known about the culture that constructed the cairn, and no written records or clear evidence have been found to explain their beliefs, customs, or even their name. Were they part of a wider network of Neolithic peoples who shared similar burial practices? Or did the builders of Barnenez have a completely unique culture, now lost to the sands of time? Adding to the intrigue, Barnenez was rediscovered in the early 20th century, but not much is understood about its original use. Though it's widely accepted that the cairn was a burial site, it remains unclear whether it was also a site of ceremonial significance or whether it was used for other purposes. The complexity and scale of the structure point to something far more profound than a mere burial monument. Could it have been a place for the living, a ritual center, where the dead were honored and the cycles of life were celebrated? Perhaps it was used for astronomical observations, a stone temple that marked the seasons and aligned with the movements of the stars. Or perhaps, as some suggest, it was a place where people gathered for communal rituals, marking the boundaries between life and death. There is even a speculative theory that the cairn was not a burial site at all, but rather a place where sacred rites or astrological practices were carried out to commune with higher powers. Some have wondered if Barnenez's builders had a profound cosmological understanding, a deep knowledge of the stars, the planets, and the cycles of time. In the same vein, could the cairn have been an early form of temple, a site where ritualistic offerings were made to the gods, perhaps seeking favor, protection, or fertility for the people? The exact purpose of the cairn remains elusive, and the lack of definitive evidence only deepens the mystery. When one stands before the cairn today, gazing upon its weathered stones and imagining what it must have once looked like in its full, unbroken form, there is a profound sense of connection to the past. The careful arrangement of stones, the alignment with the landscape, the carvings etched into the surface, all suggest that the people who built Barnenez possessed a level of sophistication and understanding that we may never fully comprehend. Their worldview, their belief system, their social structure, these things remain out of reach, hidden behind the passage of millennia. The question, then, is this: what did the builders of Barnenez know that we don't? How did they conceive of the world, and what role did this giant stone structure play in their understanding of life, death, and the cosmos? Were the cairn's creators simply ahead of their time, or were they perhaps tapping into a deeper knowledge, one that has since been lost or obscured by history? The Cairn of Barnenez stands as a testament to the ingenuity and mystery of our ancient ancestors, a silent witness to a long-forgotten world, waiting to reveal its secrets. And as we continue to uncover the past, we must ask, what else, hidden beneath the earth, remains to be discovered? What ancient knowledge, what long-lost rituals, may still lie waiting in the darkened chambers, the stone corridors, and the silent halls of the Cairn of Barnenez? As we leave behind the ancient stones of Cairn of Barnenez and the fascinating complexities of early European burial practices, we now venture into the heart of South America, to the cloud forests of northern Peru. Nestled high in the Andean mountains, hidden away from the eyes of many, lies one of the most intriguing and mysterious archaeological sites of the ancient world, Qeiyafa Fortress. Perched atop a mountain ridge at an elevation of nearly 3,000 meters, over 9,800 feet, Qeiyafa is a fortress unlike any other. Built by the Chachapoya civilization, a group of people often referred to as the Warriors of the Clouds, Qeiyafa was constructed during the 6th to 10th centuries A.D. Yet, despite its sheer size and sophistication, it remained largely unknown to the outside world until its rediscovery in the 19th century. Today, it stands as one of Peru's most imposing and mysterious ancient structures. From the moment you approach Qeiyafa, the landscape is breathtaking. The fortress is surrounded by dense mist, swirling like an ethereal veil that enhances the sense of mystery. Massive stone walls, some of which tower over 20 feet high, rise from the mountainside, enveloped in vegetation and clouds. These walls seem to breathe with the weight of centuries, as if they hold untold secrets within their ancient stones. The site is vast, nearly 600 meters, about 2,000 feet, in length, and 110 meters, 360 feet, in width, enough space to house a significant community. At its peak, Qeiyafa may have accommodated over 3,000 inhabitants, a small city nestled in the clouds. The primary structure within the fortress is the Great Wall, which encircles the entire site, protecting what lies within. As you walk along its edges, you notice the intricate carvings on the stone, particularly symmetric designs and geometric motifs, many of which are still poorly understood. Some of these designs appear to be symbolic in nature, possibly tied to the spiritual or ceremonial beliefs of the Chachapoya people. These motifs have been interpreted as representations of the mountains, waterways, and animals, but there is no clear consensus about their meaning. Inside the fortress, the landscape shifts from grand defensive walls to a more intimate environment. The layout of Qeiyafa reveals a sophisticated system of living spaces and temples. The circular buildings that populate the interior of the fortress are unique to this site, with the walls made from lime mortar and large stone blocks. Many of the structures are round, a feature that sets them apart from the rectangular designs seen in other cultures. The circular shape may have had symbolic significance, representing the cycles of life, death, and renewal. But as with much of the site, these intentions remain speculative. Qeiyafa's sheer scale and strategic positioning suggest that it was not merely a residence for a few elites, but an urban center with a diverse population. It could have served as a religious hub, a place for rituals and ceremonies, as evidenced by the presence of numerous ceremonial altars and the richness of the site's carvings. Archaeologists have uncovered pottery fragments, jewelry, and tools, indicating that the Chachapoya had a complex and advanced society with intricate trading networks, artistic traditions, and religious practices. But the purpose of the fortress itself remains shrouded in mystery. Why was such an enormous, fortified structure built in such a remote, inaccessible location? While it's commonly accepted that Qeiyafa served as a defensive fort against invaders, there is no definitive evidence to suggest who or what the Chachapoya were protecting themselves from. The Inca Empire, which eventually conquered the Chachapoya in the 15th century, would have been a natural candidate, but the site predates the Incas' rise to power, suggesting that other threats may have loomed large in the region. Could there have been other ancient civilizations, now lost to history, that necessitated such an imposing structure? Interestingly, some scholars have speculated that Qeiyafa could have had a cosmological purpose rather than a purely defensive one. The Chachapoya people were deeply connected to the natural world, and Qeiyafa's strategic location, high above the surrounding valley, could suggest that the site was a place for observing the stars, tracking the sun's movements, or even for conducting astronomical rituals. Some theories propose that the positioning of the buildings and alignments of the walls may have been carefully planned to coincide with celestial events or seasonal changes, such as the solstices or equinoxes. Could Qeiyafa have been more than just a fortress? Could it have been a temple to the heavens, a place of both earthly and spiritual significance? Even more fascinating is the ongoing mystery of the collapse of the Chachapoya civilization and the abandonment of Qeiyafa itself. While the Inca did indeed conquer the Chachapoya, it is unclear why Qeiyafa was eventually abandoned. Some suggest that environmental factors, such as deforestation or climate change, may have contributed to the decline of the Chachapoya, forcing them to leave their grand fortress behind. Others argue that internal strife or a slow erosion of their societal structures led to Qeiyafa's abandonment. Yet another theory points to the possibility of religious or cultural upheaval, where the fortress, once a place of great power, became a symbol of a fallen society that could no longer maintain its hold over its domain. What remains of the fortress today is a shadow of its former self. The great walls still stand tall, but the interior has suffered the ravages of time and nature. The weathered stones, the fading carvings, and the overgrown vegetation that now surrounds Qeiyafa only deepen the sense that we are looking at something that was once alive, but now lies frozen in time. Yet, despite the ravages of centuries, Qeiyafa still communicates a sense of mystery and power, as if it is guarding secrets that have yet to be uncovered. Perhaps the greatest enigma surrounding Qeiyafa is the question of its true origin. While the Chachapoya are widely believed to have built the fortress, some theorists propose that the construction of Qeiyafa might have been influenced by an even older, pre-Chachapoya culture. Could there have been earlier inhabitants in this region, people whose traces have vanished over time, leaving behind only the monumental remnants of their civilization? And if so, what was their connection to the Chachapoya and their descendants? The mystery deepens when we consider the cultural richness of the Chachapoya. Though relatively little is known about their language and beliefs, the artifacts found at Qeiyafa, intricate textiles, pottery adorned with symbolic designs, and carvings of enigmatic figures, speak of a people who were not just warriors, but skilled artisans, spiritual thinkers, and astrologers. What was their understanding of the universe, and how did it inform their architectural decisions? As you stand at the edge of the Qeiyafa fortress, gazing out over the mist-clad mountains, it is easy to imagine the ancient people who once inhabited this place. Who were they really, and what secrets do the stones still hold? The fortress, though silent, speaks volumes to those who are willing to listen. Perhaps one day, Further excavations or advancements in technology will reveal answers to these pressing questions. Until then, Qeiyafa remains a mystery, waiting to unveil its final truths, hidden in plain sight, cloaked in the clouds, and waiting for the right moment to tell its story. As we move from the lofty heights of Sisupalgarh Fortress, with its enigmatic designs and long-lost civilizations, we now turn our attention to another mystery of the ancient world, the Kunduchi ruins. Situated on the east coast of Africa, near the modern-day Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, these ruins are a forgotten testament to a once thriving culture that has left behind few traces. Although they remain largely overshadowed by more famous sites like Great Zimbabwe or the Swahili Coast, the Kunduchi ruins present a mystery that is rich with unanswered questions, theories, and speculations about ancient African civilizations. The Kunduchi ruins are not a single grand monument, but rather a sprawling network of stone buildings, walls, and structures scattered over a large area. Nestled between lush vegetation and bordered by the waters of the Indian Ocean, the site is both beautiful and haunting in its silence. Some of the structures here appear remarkably sophisticated: stone foundations, carefully shaped bricks, and remnants of elaborate architectural designs, yet much of the site is in disrepair. What was once a bustling settlement now lies scattered and largely forgotten, hidden in the shadows of both time and modern development. The origins of the Kunduchi ruins remain unclear, adding to the sense of mystery that envelops them. The ruins have often been associated with the Swahili coast, which, from the 8th century AD onward, was a thriving trade route that connected East Africa with the Arabian Peninsula, India, and even the distant lands of China. Trade was a key part of Swahili culture, as it helped develop one of the most cosmopolitan and wealthiest regions of the medieval world. The city-states along the Swahili coast flourished due to their strategic position for maritime trade. Yet, the Kunduchi ruins, far from the major cities like Kilwa and Mombasa, have a distinct feel to them. Unlike other known Swahili settlements, the Kunduchi ruins show signs of having been abandoned long before the decline of the Swahili coast cities in the 15th and 16th centuries. Could these ruins be remnants of a much earlier civilization, one that predates the well-documented arrival of Arab traders in the region? Some archaeologists speculate that they may date back to the first few centuries AD, possibly even before the establishment of any formal trade networks along the coast. Could the people who built the Kunduchi ruins have been part of a civilization that engaged in trade and communication with other early African societies long before the arrival of outsiders? Interestingly, some of the construction techniques found at the Kunduchi ruins are markedly different from those used in other parts of East Africa during the same period. The stonework here is of a quality and complexity that suggests an advanced understanding of architecture and engineering. Unlike the more rudimentary structures often found in other parts of the region, the stones used in the Kunduchi ruins are carefully shaped and fit together with remarkable precision. Was this a unique culture that had its own ways of building, or did they draw influence from external sources, perhaps from the Indian Ocean trade routes that reached even the farthest shores of Africa, influencing the design of their buildings? One of the most intriguing features of the site is the presence of unusual artifacts, small figurines, pottery shards, and tools that suggest a level of craftsmanship and cultural exchange. Arabic pottery, with its distinctive blue and white designs, has been found alongside local African ceramics. This indicates that there was some form of interaction between the people of the Swahili coast and other ancient civilizations across the Indian Ocean. These artifacts suggest that the builders of the Kunduchi ruins were not isolated, but were part of a wider cultural and trading network, possibly stretching as far as India or even the Arabian Peninsula. But the greatest mystery of the Kunduchi ruins lies in the nature of the settlement itself. Was this a fortified city, a religious center, or perhaps a trading post? The layout of the ruins doesn't easily suggest a single dominant function. It could have been a place where merchants and travelers converged to trade goods, but it also contains signs that it may have had religious or ceremonial significance. Among the scattered ruins, archaeologists have uncovered stone altars and ritualistic carvings, which may indicate that the site was also used for ceremonial purposes. Was it a place where communities gathered to perform spiritual practices? Or was it the home of a local elite class that used the structures for ritual feasts and sacred rites? As of today, the Kunduchi ruins remain enigmatic. While the site is not as well excavated as some of its counterparts, some argue that this is precisely why it holds so many unanswered questions. How much more lies buried beneath the overgrown jungle that surrounds the ruins? What can the ancient stones tell us about the civilizations that lived there, their beliefs, and their interactions with other peoples of the Indian Ocean world? There is still so much about Kunduchi that remains hidden. Even the timeline of its decline is a subject of debate. The ruins may have been abandoned at some point in the early medieval period, long before the rise of the powerful Swahili city-states. Could environmental changes, such as a shift in trade routes or the depletion of resources in the area, have forced the original inhabitants to leave? Or was there an external force, perhaps from a neighboring tribe or from Arab invaders, that led to its downfall? There is also speculation that the Kunduchi ruins may be part of a larger, undiscovered network of ancient African settlements along the East African coast. Could there have been a series of forgotten cities, all connected by trade, religion, or shared cultural practices, that once dotted the coast but have since been lost to time and modern development? If so, how many more hidden ruins are waiting to be uncovered in the dense forests, under the sand dunes, or beneath the waters of the Indian Ocean? Perhaps the most persistent mystery surrounding the Kunduchi ruins is the identity of its people. Who were the creators of this site, and why has their story been so easily forgotten by history? Were they part of an early African civilization that existed long before the rise of known empires, such as Great Zimbabwe or the Kingdom of Aksum? Or were they part of a group that came and went with the ebb and flow of the ancient world's complex trade networks? The truth may never be fully known, but the mystery of the Kunduchi ruins persists. As the ruins slowly erode under the weight of centuries, one can't help but wonder, what knowledge or wisdom may still lie hidden in the earth, waiting to be unearthed by future explorers? What stories do the stones still whisper to those who listen closely enough? In a world full of uncovered archaeological treasures, Kunduchi remains a reminder that the past is never fully gone. It is merely waiting to be rediscovered. As we leave behind the lush, unexplored ruins of the Kunduchi ruins, we now turn our attention to a site tucked away in the Spanish plains, the ancient Motilla de la Zuer. Located near the village of Daimiel in southern Spain, this sprawling archaeological complex rises subtly from the landscape, its low profile masking the mysteries it holds within. The site, which dates back to around 1500 BC, might not boast the grandeur of some ancient cities, but what it lacks in scale, it makes up for in intrigue and mystery. Motilla de la Zuer is one of the most significant archaeological sites from the Bronze Age in Iberia. The complex sits atop a hill, offering a panoramic view of the surrounding plains, which stretch out toward the horizon. Mound-like structures, likely man-made, are scattered across the site. They are not monumental like the pyramids of Egypt, nor are they as intricate as the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, but they still evoke a sense of ancient purpose. These structures are believed to be remnants of fortifications and residential areas, surrounded by what appears to be a defensive wall that once encircled the settlement. A moat, or at least traces of it, suggests that Motilla de la Zuer might have been a fortified city, a stronghold designed to defend against unknown threats, or perhaps a site of strategic importance. At first glance, the site's layout doesn't immediately suggest a clear function or purpose. The circular structure in the center of the site, where a large well is located, appears to have been the core of the settlement, serving as a water reservoir for the inhabitants. But the location of the well raises several questions. Why was it placed at the heart of the settlement? Was it merely practical, or did it hold symbolic significance? The presence of large stone blocks that seem to have been deliberately stacked around the well hints at a structure far more complex than simple irrigation or water storage. Some believe that the well was a focal point for rituals, perhaps even religious ceremonies, performed by the people of Motilla del Azuer. Could the well have been a sacred center, a link between the earth and the heavens in the minds of the ancient people who lived here? Yet, while the well is an intriguing feature, the true mystery of Motilla del Azuer lies in its defensive system and the manner in which the settlement was organized. The walls around the settlement suggest a highly organized society, one that had a deep understanding of fortifications and defensive strategy. The construction of the mounds, combined with the surrounding walls, speaks to the importance of protection, both from external threats and, perhaps, from within. What kind of society built such a complex system of defenses? Was this a tribal stronghold, or was it part of a more sophisticated and centralized structure that remains lost to time? Some archaeologists have speculated that Motilla del Azuer may have been a trading hub, strategically placed between different cultures in the Mediterranean and Iberian interior. It is thought that the people who lived here might have engaged in commerce, exchanging goods like metal, pottery, and luxury items. The surrounding area, rich in natural resources, would have made this an attractive location for settlements focused on trade. Yet, there are no large-scale ceremonial structures or elaborate burial sites here, which suggests that the primary function of the settlement was not strictly economic. Instead, could it have served as a military outpost, a refuge or fortified city that played a role in a larger network of defensive alliances? Perhaps the most striking feature of the site is its apparent sudden abandonment. The Motilla del Azuer complex shows signs of having been occupied for several centuries, but the reasons behind its eventual desertion remain a mystery. Was it the result of external pressures, such as an invasion or drought, or did internal factors, like resource depletion or social strife, cause the inhabitants to abandon the site? The sudden nature of the abandonment raises a number of possibilities. Could there have been a catastrophic event, a sudden disaster that led to the settlement's swift decline? Alternatively, might the people have migrated away due to changing trade routes, new political structures, or a need to adapt to shifting environmental conditions? What drove an entire civilization to leave behind such a carefully constructed and strategically important site? The age of the site is another point of contention among researchers. The early Bronze Age, around 1500 BC, is considered the most likely period for Motilla del Azuer's establishment. However, some of the most enigmatic features of the site, such as the size of the central well and the defensive walls, suggest a much earlier origin. Was Motilla del Azuer established as a complex society in its own right, or was it merely a reflection of larger changes occurring across the ancient Mediterranean and Iberia during the Bronze Age? Were the people of Motilla del Azuer part of an unknown civilization, one that we may never fully understand? The mystery of the inhabitants remains unsolved as well. Who were they? Was this a community of local Iberian peoples, or did they perhaps have connections to other cultures, either across the Mediterranean or in the Near East? The answer is elusive, though some clues suggest that the inhabitants of the area may have had cultural ties to Phoenician traders who were establishing trading networks across the Mediterranean during the same time period. Was Motilla del Azuer simply a trading post, or was it a seat of local power, one with its own rulers, rituals, and culture that developed independently of the surrounding civilizations? The presence of advanced fortifications and strategic architecture may suggest a society with deep political and military structures, even if these have yet to be uncovered. The site of Motilla del Azuer is not just a place for archaeological inquiry. It is a window into a time of transition, a period where ancient peoples grappled with their place in the world, building elaborate structures to defend themselves, protect their water sources, and perhaps even fulfill religious or ceremonial needs. It is a place where history, with its profound gaps, remains silent on many issues, leaving us with more questions than answers. What drove this once thriving settlement into obscurity? Was it the pressures of internal conflicts, the shift of trade routes, or the rising tides of history? And what can we truly understand about the people who inhabited this mysterious complex? These questions linger, as the mystery of Motilla della Zuer continues to challenge our understanding of the past, urging us to seek answers even as they elude us. As with so many ancient ruins, Motilla della Zuer's secrets are not easily unearthed. But perhaps that is precisely why the site endures, reminding us that the true depth of history is often buried just beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered.